If I could have everyone's attention, please. If everyone would please take a seat, we are about to proceed. I would like to call the Fairfield County Council Budget Work Session 2 to order. Wednesday, April the 19th, 2023, 6 p.m. Do I have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 on the approval of the agenda. Next, we are down to invocation by Councilwoman Green.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come together this evening. We ask that you bless those in attendance and that you really bless those who are suffering right now, Father, those who are bereaved, those who are ill. We ask you to grace us with your mercy tonight as we make decisions to benefit the county. We ask these blessings in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Tonight, we have items for discussion. Let me take a step back. We approve calling it to order. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on approving the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 on the approval of the agenda. Now we are down to item 4, items for discussion, starting with A, agency presentations. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Council. I will have our interim finance director, Beverly Mosey, start the process. Thank you.
Good evening, Fairfield County Council, our department heads, agencies, and citizens that are here tonight. First on the agenda will be our agencies who were unable to attend the April 3rd work session and are here tonight to present their fiscal year 24 budgets. We have 6 agencies here tonight: Council on Aging, Midlands Technical College, Central Midlands Council of Governments, Old English District, South Carolina I-77 Alliance, and Making the Difference. To our agencies, as the name of your agency is called, please come to the podium. You have up to 5 minutes to present your budget. The timer will automatically start when you begin speaking. Please give a summary of your budget. No need to go line by line. Council already has a copy of the budget appropriation request that you submitted. Please state your name, your position or title with your organization, and briefly tell us the purpose of your organization and the amount that you are requesting for fiscal year 24 and how the funds will be used. When you finish your presentation, remain at the podium for questions from council. And once you are finished, you are not required to stay. Also, if you have any items that need to be passed out, please bring them as you come forth, and we'll give them to our clerk to council. At this time, we will begin with our first agency, Council on Aging.
I'm the Executive Director of the Fairfield County Council on Aging. I thank you all for allowing me the time to speak to you about our agency and the services that we provide for the Fairfield County senior adults. For this fiscal year 23-24, we're requesting $102,025 to provide services for our seniors. We celebrated our 50th anniversary of delivering nutrition services to Fairfield County seniors in 2022. We are delighted to be able to say that services provided over the years have been an essential part in keeping older adults in their communities longer and living and allowing them to age in place in their own homes, which is where they all want to be. The core services of group dining meals, home-delivered meals, and transportation are listed in the Federal Older Americans Act as requirements to be provided within every state. The Council on Aging's largest and most recognizable service is our home-delivered meals program, which is also known as Meals on Wheels. We also provide senior center activities, local transportation, group dining meals, and a host of other services. The Council on Aging currently serves approximately 1,425 home-delivered meals each week to seniors all over the county. No one is denied a service because of where they live. We have established routes in Ridgeway, Greenbrier, Blair, Blackstock, Midford, Winsboro, and all the points in between. Clients do have to meet a certain criteria to receive home-delivered meals, and eligibility is determined by Central Midlands Area Agency on Aging. We estimate that by the end of June 30th of this year, we will have delivered approximately 62,000 meals into the seniors' homes this year. We established a weekend meal program for clients in January of 22. The program was being funded by a community development block grant awarded through Fairfield County. Our clients now receive seven meals a week instead of the traditional 5 meals that have been provided for the years. We expected that the program would end this month, but thankfully an additional grant funds were secured and the program will go on through the end of August. There is no additional funding for the weekend meals after that program, and it will be discontinued, and our clients will go back to 5 meals in September. The Council on Aging provides lunch each weekday at our Winsboro Senior Center, which is located within our office building. The Senior Center programming is funded by federal, state, and local monies. Anyone age 60 or older is welcome to attend the center and receive a nutritious hot meal 5 days a week. Activities are offered daily and designed to promote interaction and increase socialization. The health effects of isolation are devastating on everyone, but especially seniors and vulnerable adults. The goal of the group dining program is to encourage and provide healthy eating habits and decrease isolation for our participants. Many seniors participate in activities at the center, but they don't participate in the meals program, and that's okay. The services offered are a very vital part of what the Council on Aging does to keep seniors active and social in this community. The pandemic did take a toll on the number of seniors that attend the center. However, we're seeing increased numbers since July, and we're expecting to have served about 4,500 meals at the end of this fiscal year. We do provide transportation, non-Medicaid transportation for people 60 and older, to and from the senior center, and for doctor's appointments and grocery stores. We pick up people in Winsboro and in the surrounding areas 5 days a week. We also do a couple of other different services that we do Harvest Hope community food boxes. We do a food co-op program with fresh vegetables for our seniors each month. We've got a telephone reassurance program. We have grant dollars that allow us to pay for lifeline services through the county's EMS for our Meals on Wheels clients. We partner with a local pharmacy to deliver medical prescriptions with our home-delivered meals. We've also partnered with the food bank to deliver extra bags of food to people who are in need. We also distributed 230 senior angel tree gifts to our clients in December of this year. Fairfield County Council on Aging is the only organization within Fairfield County that is dedicated to the provision of senior services daily. All programs administered through FCCOA are senior-focused and senior-driven. Programs are designed to enhance the senior's quality of life. While there are no resources available within the agency to assist seniors with the rising cost of living, the programs that we provide do provide food and other services to those in need. Most of the funding for our services comes from Older Americans Act, but we use our county dollars to match additional grants, provide direct services to clients, and create programs that is beneficial to senior residents. That was horrible. Can I finish? I got one more page.
The limit is 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting the Council on Aging. The seniors that y'all serve are very grateful of it.
Hold on just a minute. Any council members have any questions for
Me.
Council on Aging?
Me.
Miss, and before she starts, let me tell you and everyone here, I think I can speak on behalf of council. Thank everyone for being here this evening. I know it's a Wednesday evening and there's other places that you probably would rather be, but we appreciate everyone being here tonight.
I just want to thank you for what you do for the seniors. But there was the food boxes. Is that the ones that they pay for, or can you do food boxes?
There are two different programs. The co-op boxes that we do, the bags, those are ones that the seniors pay for. Those are $6 a piece. The commodity boxes are actually a program through DSS where they have to be 60 plus to get them, but they are income based and they're eligible for them through a DSS program. So they do have to be eligible for those. We do about 75 of those a month.
So do they have to come into Winsboro to get it, or if they are getting their Meals on Wheels, you take it to them?
Mostly they have to come and pick those up because they're pretty substantial boxes. They're about 40 pounds each.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's a lot of food. They're designed to be about a month's worth of food to
Okay.
in the boxes. So usually we tell people that they have to come and pick them up because they're kind of hard to deliver, but we have some that we have to take out.
Okay. How many Meals on Wheels do you do out in the Blair area? I'm talking about the Blair North. Not Jenkinsville, but Blair.
I don't know if I can tell you an exact number out there. We have a Jenkinsville and a Blair route that probably has 30 people out in that area. So we're split up all over the place.
Do you know how many that you would have in Blackstock or Mitford?
Blackstock, I've got about 10. Mitford, the Great Falls area, there are about 7 or 8.
So not so very many.
Not so many, but what it is, we don't get a lot of referrals from those areas as well. So if the referrals were coming into us, there is something we could do about it. But we can't serve those that we don't know about. So they have to call us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I certainly would like to thank you for your services. There are so many needy seniors in our community, and you do a good job servicing them. You noted that the 11,835 weekend meals are expected to end this month, at the end of the month, because of the COVID funding that was available through the federal government. Are there any plans to kind of try to implement that program here with other kinds of funding, or?
Well, I'm always actively seeking other funding for that, but that particular grant got extended. So we got that program extended through the end of August. It was going to end in April, but it is going to go through August. But after August, I'm searching for food. I'm trying to find different grants out there that will keep that going.
Ms. Connor, I only have a few questions for you. When we look at this budget request, I see contractual services for $36,488. Can you kind of explain what those services are?
Yeah, it's a different set of things. We have an assessor, an assessment nurse who goes out into the homes and actually gets our paperwork. That's part of that. It's also the person who does our vehicle maintenance, like our upkeeping, washing the buses, that type of things. It's also some of our service agreements that go in with a database that we have to have. So it's several different things that are applied to that.
All right. And the other thing on the rental and lease, what does that include?
We lease vehicles to deliver our meals with, so that's a higher cost there. That's for our motor vehicle lease. Our other leases are we have the copiers that we have to lease, just general office equipment, those types of things, nothing that's really big or whatever. Our phone system is on a lease program, those types of things.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you completely when you mentioned the contractual services, if you don't mind stating what they were
We
again.
have a nurse that goes in and does our paperwork. That's part of her fee. She goes and sees every client that we go into, so there's a fee for that, for her doing that. But it's also the person who does our vehicle upkeep, like our washing our vehicles, those types of things. Just the general, that's our pest control, all of those different kinds of things we have to have.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Midlands Technical College.
Good evening, members of Fairfield County Council. I'm Ron Raines, president of Midlands Technical College, and thank you for an opportunity to talk to you about our budget request. Let me start by thanking you for the support that you provided the college in the past, and so we are really appreciative of it, and I know our students are grateful for the support that you provided us in the past. And so our budget request is kind of straightforward. We're asking for $142,929, which is the same as the request that we had last year and what was funded. As you know, Midlands Technical College is all about workforce development. We provide education and training through two primary areas of the college. One area is our academic, traditional college level courses, which many folk take advantage of, and then our corporate and continuing education, which are our short-term workforce training programs at the college. We also provide numerous of support to students in terms of job placement, counseling, a whole range of services that students have access to as they matriculate through our college. As you know, we also offer courses throughout our entire service area, which is including Fairfield, Richland, and Lexington County in high schools. And so a number of our students will graduate from our college with an associate degree or a certificate. In many cases, they get this award before they get their high school diploma. And I've had the great pleasure of coming to Fairfield County during the graduation at the high school at Fairfield Central and awarding them a certificate or an associate degree from MTC during their graduation ceremony. And obviously the big advantage of something like that is that the citizens of Fairfield County get a head start on going to college. And the big advantage for that is that their parents' tuition and fees are lower when they come to college. They also, and this is probably the most important part of it, is that they're able to graduate from college, from Midlands, and if they go on to a four-year institution with little or no debt. And so the investment that you make allows us to do that. And these students and their parents and families are saving a lot of money and then have a lot less debt. Tonight, going on in this county, just down the road at the campus, we have our advisory board meeting, and the advisory board members, we come together periodically to talk about how we can grow participation with the college, especially right here in Fairfield County. So with that, I'm going to pause and be glad to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Midlands Tech?
Yes, over here, am I looking at this right? But in the spring of 2021, you only had one student that took a course?
That's probably correct. It took the course on the campus. It's not counting the dual enrollment students that we have.
Right, but I'm talking about they actually walked in the campus and took a class.
But we offered a wide range of courses during that period.
And then in fall of 22, you only had 2 people to come to your building?
Those are students that are taking the academic courses, that's correct.
So how many classrooms are up there?
There are, I believe, 4 classrooms, including 2 labs. Now, through the continuing education in CNA, there are other students that took classes there beyond the students that you're talking about.
So we're kind of heating and cooling a whole building for 1 or 2 people?
Well, obviously the county councils have access to the facility, the community have access to the facility as well. But when we offer the courses, and we do offer the courses up here, we don't know who obviously stay. Now, what we could do is not offer that opportunity at all, and if 1 or 2 students come, we feel obligated that we need to provide the education to that student.
So make sure I understand. So we providing a building and a teacher for 1 student?
We are providing to make sure that that student get that education. That is correct. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
The faculty,
We do have Fairfield County residents that are taking classes on our other campuses as well. So we're not just educating the students here, we're educating Fairfield citizens at our other campuses as well.
this faculty academic, $150,000 for just the 1 teacher? Or
No, ma'am, that's not just for 1 teacher, that's for all the adjuncts and part-time faculty that are engaged. And so again, for instance, students that are taking the CNA program, we have to have a faculty member there for that. And so it's more than just that 1 student in that 1 class.
How many faculty members are employed at the Winsboro campus?
Well, we don't have any employed on the campus. What we do is that when a class is offered, we assign a faculty member to come up and teach the class, unless it's an adjunct that lives in the community.
Can someone who wants to take classes at the Fairfield campus, can they go up to the Fairfield campus and register for classes?
They can. So we have a staff person, and most of the time, when it's open and office hours, we have a person there that can take care of the registration for them. In addition to that, we send recruiters up here all the time to meet with folks, to go to churches, community events, and those kind of things to encourage people to take classes.
I had a young lady last week that went up there to register, and she was told by someone up there that she could not, and that she had to drive all the way to Columbia to register for classes.
I'm sorry about that, first of all. But second, that should not have occurred.
Any other questions? Any other questions for Millenstead?
Just one for administration. I thought we did the maintenance up there one time.
I'm sorry, our building maintenance staff, they do go cut grass and other stuff. He was asking, what does our staff, building maintenance staff?
The building maintenance staff?
Dr. Raines, I saw you had 20,000 down for maintenance, and I remember that one point in time we did the maintenance up there.
Right. This is Debbie Walker, our Chief Financial Officer, and Debbie, you want to talk about that?
Yes, sir. The services that Fairfield County provides is pest control, refuse disposal, and the grass cutting, but we provide all the landscaping and taking care of the landscaping of the campus. We also provide security. We provide the keying of the building, any audio-visual maintenance. We provide, with you guys, IT maintenance. We do the life safety inspections and the burglar alarm responses.
Thank you.
the grounds, you're saying that the county cuts the grass and somebody charges you $17,500 to trim the shrubs?
That's for the full year, providing the services that, the landscaping that's needed. We may have to replace like the mulch that's around the bushes, trimming of the bushes, planting of the trees, those type things.
Have y'all bid that out? That is really high for somebody to cut some bushes and put some bark out.
Did you ask, are we bidding that out? You're asking that? So what we do is we send our grounds crews up as, to help us with these kind of things from the other campuses.
I kind of agree with Ms. Swearingen as far as the landscaping portion of it. Being in the landscaping business myself and dealing with facilities similar to Midland Tech, just to do the shrubs and put mulch out, and not all time do we have to replace the shrubbery and things like that. I just find that 20,000 is a little excessive, but you know what it takes. So we just adhere to that.
So these are not fees that's charged to the county. These are fees that Midlands Tech pay. You guys only pay the difference between the in-county rate and the out-of-county rate for all of the Fairfield County students that take courses with Midlands.
Do you have a total of how many Fairfield County residents took classes at Midlands Tech, whether it was in Winsboro or any other campus? Is that the 371?
But only 3 in Winsboro, 1 and 2.
Only 3, apparently 2 academic classes here. We had more than that when you look. I think we provide you a list of the course offerings that we offer up here, both on the corporate and continuing education side as well as the academic side. So you should have a list of that.
And we provided you that and also a listing of any courses that are offered in the afternoon.
Right,
So we
right.
offered many, many courses, but
They're not
changes
taking
that
them.
the courses did not make.
That's right. So we're heating and cooling a building for 3 people to take courses. And $17,000 for somebody to cut shrubs.
You're not doing that, we are.
So the list that you're looking at, we're talking about the part that the county pays, and then the college kicks in the other part. So the $142,000 that we're asking for goes towards the education of the students that live and reside in Fairfield County that take courses through us. You're actually paying. And our guesstimate without indirect costs, we're spending more than the $142,000 that we provide you, that you provide us.
And so the budget request that you have is for students that have already taken courses at the college. So when we present our budget to the county, the budget is in the arrears. So we've provided the services to the 253 students.
But now this $142,000 y'all are wanting, what are you gonna pay out of that?
That is a part of the agreement that the county has with Midlands, that if your student comes to our college, whether it's on the campus here at Fairfield or any of our campuses, any of the other 6 campuses, then you guys agreed to pay the difference between the in-county rate and the out-of-county rate. So the college has an in-county rate for students that are in-county, Lexington and Richland County. We have an out-of-county rate and we have an out-of-state rate. So that your students from Fairfield County are allowed to take the courses at Midlands for a lesser rate. You got, the council agreed to pay.
Yeah, this agreement has been in place for many, many years. When I came to the college over 30 years ago, it was in place. And quite frankly, I've recommended to previous administrators that maybe it's time to step back and look at that agreement and decide if there's a better way or a different way, or a way that we can all have a better understanding of our role in terms of providing services and education to the county. And we're willing to do that. We understand your questions. We want to give an answer. But the formula that was agreed to many, many, many years ago is still the formula that we are using to calculate our budget. It simply is that the taxpayers of all three counties support the college. And so we have an in-county rate for all of our students, in Richland, Lexington, and Fairfield County. But when a student comes to us out of the county, they come to us from Newberry County, for example, we charge them a premium because the taxpayers of Newberry are not supporting the college. They're supporting Piedmont Technical College. And that was the agreement that we put in place many years ago.
So now many of these students are Fairfield Promise students. I noticed that, there are some that are taking advanced classes. And can you just expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, right now we have just over 100, I think, students that are taking advantage of the Fairfield Promise program. And the Fairfield program, you all are supporting that as well. And we really appreciate that. But again, the Fairfield Promise basically is that students are taking college classes and high school classes at the same time. And again, that's that jump start on a college education that I talked about a moment ago. And the students from Fairfield County that are doing this are saving their parents themselves, significant money by doing this. And as well, and again, I really can't emphasize, by graduating from college early with no debt or little debt, that really mean a lot to the students that go through the program.
And you may have mentioned this, and I didn't hear you, and I think Midlands Tech does a great job providing students with this opportunity. But could you give me an approximate number just for the Fairfield campus? How many students have you had, say, over the last 3 or 4 years that you provide classes to just on Fairfield campus?
So when we first opened, and frankly, when the Dominion project was at its height, we were in the 100-student range with welding, a lot of the things that was designed to accommodate them. And since then, the enrollment has fallen off in terms of the number of students, especially the ones that are taking the academic courses, which is what we really want them to take. Again, the corporate and continuing education, the numbers aren't large either, like CNA. We need more students taking that. We last year experimented with offering free classes, not just the academic or continuing education. We offered some special courses for the community. One of the courses, how to safely navigate the internet. And so we had 25 or 30 people enrolled in that course. In other words, it's designed to get the community to come out to the campus, and they did. I think it was a 6-week evening program that was designed to help people to know how to navigate the internet safely. And we offered several other courses up there at the campus.
Anyone else from Midlands Tech? Thank you.
Central Midlands Council of Governments.
Good evening. My name is Missy Labby. I'm the Director of Finance for Central Midlands Council of Government. I am here tonight. We've put in our budget request, and we are requesting $17,748. I'm sorry. I've never been accused of being too quiet. So. I am fairly new with the COG, so please, I will do my best to answer any questions you might have. I came here to tell you a little bit about what we do at the COG. Central Midlands has been around since 1969. We provide services to local governments in the 4 Midland counties, and that's Fairfield, Lexington, Richland, and Newberry. CMCOG currently consists of 15 member governments, and we serve about 769,000 residents in the Midland area. We provide a regional forum which allows officials to seek out common goals and deal with regional issues. And that is our primary function. Under the roof of the COG, we offer 5 basic programs, but within each of those programs we do a multitude of things, serving not only local governments but individuals as well. So let me tell you just a little bit about them. By no means is this list all-inclusive. I just wanted to touch on a few things to share with you some of the things you may or may not know that we are doing. We have transportation. Under the transportation program, we are currently working on resurfacing Longtown Road. There's a project for resurfacing. We are doing intersection improvements, working to develop those. We are working with SCDOT to improve safety overall in the region. And we're working on the regional bike and pedestrian master plan to incorporate the Complete Street Initiative. We have the Agency on Aging. We currently support the Fairfield County Council on Aging, as we heard about just a few moments ago. Under that agency, they do home-delivered meals, transportation to medical appointments and senior centers, and they do in-home services. We also provide respite care, and we also provide incontinence supplies for those folks who are unable to afford those. Are you able to hear okay? I'm sorry. I will try and speak louder. We also do planning and economic development. We provide local government planning services. Currently, we're working on the Fairfield County Comprehensive Plan updates and the Winsboro Comp Plan updates. We develop, apply, and administer grants on behalf of the county and its jurisdictions. And we're working with all the COGs in the state, there are 10 of which, to establish water quality initiatives throughout the state. The Ombudsman Program. Our ombudsmen do site visits to senior care facilities. They do emergency services for transfers and discharges. I don't know if recently you heard about a facility that was being closed down, and our ombudsman would then go in all hours of the night and help folks to relocate or to help improve the situation to allow them to stay in those facilities. They do training. We offer classes on living wills, is one example. They investigate complaints and resolve issues to improve the living conditions and the satisfaction of the elderly in care. The types of issues that they would deal with would be resident rights, quality of care, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. It's a very difficult job. We have a Workforce Initiative and Opportunity Act group, which we call WIA. They are currently housed in the SC Works office is located in the Fairfield County offices. And this group provides services that allow folks to come in and do job searches, print their resume, type up their cover letters, apply for a job online. They can also provide support services such as training, career advisement for adults, youth, and dislocated workers. WIOA provides services for dislocated workers, helping them to be retrained for new careers. And we have youth programs and work experience such as internships. So what do we do with the money that you give to us? Well, the primary things that we use, the funds that we take in from our 15-member governments, is we use them for matches, grant matches. A good example would be transportation. All the money that we receive for transportation projects require a 20% match. So that is money that we have to put in from COG. And then we also have salaries for support services.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, your time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the Central Midlands Council of Government from council?
Does each county, you said it was 15 members, so does each one pay the $17,748 or
No, ma'am, it's based on population.
on population?
Yes.
Okay.
So, for example, Lexington County pays quite a bit more than Fairfield County.
And they have more members too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Old English District.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm Lynn Montgomery Moore, the Projects Manager with the Old English District Tourism Commission. For those of you who are not familiar with the Old English District, or OED, we were created by state legislature in 1982 to promote tourism and economic development in 7 different counties: Chester, Chesterfield, of course Fairfield, Kershaw, Lancaster, York, and Union counties. We are asking for $23,288 from accommodations tax allocations. Gene Stevens with the Fairfield County Chamber serves on our board, and there are several other people. I think there's a seat or 2 open, but we work closely with the Chamber to market the county and to enhance what he does and not to duplicate efforts. And he keeps us abreast on what's going on. We kind of work as a satellite office of South Carolina Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. Recently, we held a brochure swap for all of our 7 counties, and I know that there were a lot of attractions that brought their rack cards and brochures to the Gateway Conference Center, and they were able to distribute them to all 9 South Carolina Welcome Centers without having to pay for any type of shipping. We've also done study tours with the South Carolina Welcome Centers, where we take one person from each Welcome Center and take them around to different attractions in the area, and so that they'll be familiar with them and better able to promote them. We focus on the outdoors, adventure seekers, history buffs, and family friendly, and this really aligns right with Fairfield County, the outdoors with the state park, Carolina Adventure World for adventure seekers, and genealogical research at the museum, and the Railroad Museum for history buffs. And also post-COVID, we've seen a trend in small town visitation, and we see this where Fairfield County accommodations tax has risen during COVID, and a lot of other counties it declined, but you do have that quaint town, and people wanted to get away from it all. They want to get out of Charlotte, and they want to get out of Columbia, and this was the perfect place to go. These people are usually day trippers. There are overnighters that create the accommodations tax, staying, camping, staying in B&Bs and hotels or with friends. But about 70% of our visitation here is with day trippers, and they're bringing new money to the area. The advantage of marketing our 7 rural counties together is that it gives visitors more of a reason to come, because they don't see the county line, they don't see I'm leaving, the town of Winsboro and I'm going to wherever, but it gives them more of a reason when we promote all 7 counties together. And by pooling this money, it gives us access to successful advertising campaigns that have an extended reach to visitors. If you look, we list our digital ads, our print ads, and advertising. I'm just going to touch on some of the others, mainly our website, which we have redesigned. It's oldenglishdistrict.com. And I really would love for you to go and just check it out because it's very user-friendly, it looks fresh, and it is a component that when we do our advertising, it sends everybody back to our website, which lists not only attractions, but we have a calendar of events that festivals and other people are allowed, if it's tourism related, to list their events. Also, we have a partner resource page on our website that may, for instance, give folks who have an attraction the 5 best things to do for your Facebook. Also, we are completely overhauling our destination guide, which will have a lot more visual interest instead of just listing thing after thing after thing, which gets a little monotonous when you're looking for something, but it's very visual. It's broken down into the categories that I mentioned, the outdoors, history buffs. And so you'll have many pictures, it's very visual, and you'll have a QR code that sends you directly to your area of interest on our website from the destination guide. Also, we do co-op marketing with South Carolina Parks, Recreation, Tourism, who has a Ultimate Outsider program where people are trying to visit all 47 state parks where we've done advertising on their state page. They come to our website, so not only are they going to Lake Wateree State Park, but they find out what else there is to do in that area so that they spend more money here and bring in not only sales tax, but also spend money at gas stations, and not only does it provide a tax relief, but also it allows you to have things in the community that you otherwise may not be able to sustain by community alone. I'd like to thank you all for your time and for your support of tourism. And if I may, this is a wonderful facility. My father went to school here, and I wish that he was able to see this. Thank you so much.
Any questions for Old English District? I got one question for you, and I appreciate you being here. I see that you're requesting $23,288 from Fairfield County, but I see the Old English involves 6 counties. How can we be assured that we're getting $23,000 worth of marketing for Fairfield County and not other counties?
We do about $250,000 worth of marketing, and we try to divide up that time, to be honest, in all 7 counties. We do have some that have more attractions than others, so there may be a little bit more time for them, to be honest. But we do our best, as I said, that the visitor doesn't necessarily look when they're coming somewhere. They're not looking to say, oh, I want to go to several little museums along the way. And they don't care that they have gone from Chester County to Fairfield County, and having more places that we're advertising actually brings them here, because if you think of going to Virginia per se for your vacation, and there's one thing up there that you want to do, you're like, we might go and we may not. But if there's something that you want to go, there's something that your family wants to go, there's 3 or 4 things that you see, it just brings more people in. So it's beneficial to you, whether it's a straight up picture of Lake Wateree State Park, or whether it's just bringing them to the website to see what you have to offer. So you have space for everything that you have, and we do work closely, but I can't say dollar for dollar, but I can say that you get your money's worth with us when you are able to go and take ads that you might not necessarily, the chamber may not have money to place an ad there. But we work closely with him, and when there is an opportunity or an event, we're always open to promoting that for whoever it may be.
Yeah, and if you said this, I missed it. The other is the request the same for all the counties, no matter the size?
No, sir. No, sir. It depends on the county. We do get funding from some cities as well and towns. It's dependent sometimes upon the amount of accommodations tax that's allocated to them, how big they are. I mean, we have an abundance. We have from York County, on down to some counties that don't receive, near that amount. So it just depends. And it's not, we try to promote across the board and not make it totally pay to play because we're going to promote everybody. And as I said, doing it together just makes sense.
South Carolina I-77 Alliance.
Good evening, members of the council. I appreciate the opportunity to come present our budget request to you tonight. My name is Christopher Finn. I am the interim president and CEO at the I-77 Alliance. What I'd like to do fairly quickly in my time is just discuss how we're structured, how we do what we do, and then the benefit that gets returned back to Fairfield County. So first of all, we are an economic development organization. A lot of times at meetings like this, economic development is talked about, and it's at a very local level, which is great. But what my organization is focused on is business attraction. So, when you hear about announcements of companies that are relocating to the area, that would be more of the space that we operate in. And what do we specifically do? There's 8 regional alliances within the state of South Carolina. And our alliance being one of the 8, we are somewhat unique in that one of the benefits or one of the services that we don't offer, and purposely, is project management. So when the South Carolina Department of Commerce might be working with the company, if they send out the request for a site to the regional alliances, we pass it directly along to our counties, whereas other alliances that might measure themselves on announcements might be less or more reluctant to pass that along to the counties. So to talk a little bit more about how we're structured, we primarily receive a large portion of our funding from the state of South Carolina, around $660,000. That money is explicitly only to be used for economic development initiatives. It can't be used for operations. And then aside from that, that money, that $660,000, is only eligible to us if we can match it through private sector investment. And then the last component of our revenue or our income is through the 5 counties that we represent. So my organization, we represent a region that is York, Chester, Fairfield, Richland, and Lancaster counties. So all 5 of those counties are actually members of our organization, and they were the ones that actually came together to put our group into place to claim this money from the state. And the reason why was because actually all 5 of our counties are in 2 regional organizations, but they still decided that they wanted, they were in one and they decided that they wanted to have one that was more focused on the assets that this part of the state offers versus being in 2 separate regional groups. With our public sector funds, the amount of money, the fee that is charged to each of our 5 counties, there's a base rate of $25,000, and then there's a per capita rate that's assessed based on population. What this does is it ranges the county fees anywhere from $50,000 a year down to $20,000 a year. One of the issues, though, with that structure is that as it is tied to population, year over year, some of our more rural counties like Chester or Fairfield might have seen a decline in the census of maybe 5 or 10 people. That still results in a smaller fee on our end each year, year over year. So that's one thing that we are looking to address. The last thing I want to talk about is the value that's returned to Fairfield County. So aside from, again, the purpose of my group is to generate leads and fill the pipeline for your economic development office, your county economic development office. So how we do that is we contract with third-party firms that are lead generation firms, and they will assist us in identifying companies that might be looking to expand. We'll identify enough of them in our region, and then we'll pursue that region in an outbound marketing mission, talking to those companies and hopefully just opening up the dialogue to get them to consider expanding here in the region. So one of the other components of that is that there is also a lot of outbound travel and associated with our state. So what the Alliance does is we actually absorb all of the costs for our counties to do this travel. So I can tell you that Ann Broadwater, your county director for economic development, right now she's in Greenville at an event that we are supporting, which is a meeting of site selectors who are professionals that help companies expand. She was in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago for a trip that we paid for, and she's going to be in Chicago at the end of the month again for another trip with these consultants. In addition to the value that county directors can claim, and it's as much travel as they are able to perform, we're happy to subsidize. We also pay for enhancements to the county's website, the Economic Development Department's website. We also support them from a research perspective, so anytime they need data or information about the county or about their region, we provide that. And just the website enhancements alone probably give the return back on the investment for Fairfield County, but again, it goes above and beyond that. So.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council? Ms. Green?
Yes, can you give us an estimate of the number of leads that you may have provided in the last year?
So it's a little difficult only because, again, since we don't measure ourselves on announcements, we only measure ourselves on it's basically marketing and outreach. So we can tell you the amount of companies we've spoken to, and that's what's most important for us, but we can't tell you if that actually turned into anything tangible or not, because again, we don't manage any projects, we just pass them off to our counties. So I can tell you that, we set a goal every year of about 150 companies that we directly meet with, and then about 100 site selectors that we plan to meet with, whether that be through ourselves directly or through one of our counties that are traveling on our behalf. And I will mention that Councilwoman Green is our representative on our board. Every county gets either the highest elected office of the county or someone from the county council, and she's the representative in addition to Ann Broadwater, the county director. So to get to your question, again, about 150 companies and about 100 site consultants, and we usually exceed those numbers every year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks again.
Making the difference.
How are y'all doing today? My name is Bashan Johnson. I know you guys are wondering why I took Jeff Schaefer's place. Just to give you a backstory, I met Jeff at a gym in Columbia. I don't share all of Jeff's beliefs, but one thing we do believe in 110% the same is the Making a Difference program. We started a nonprofit because we had the same beliefs about the youth. And if you could see that handout, and before I go on, the reason you hadn't seen me is because I'm not a public speaker like that. I'd rather work behind the doors, but I told Jeff, man, you stepped on so many toes up there, you're gonna have to let me handle this one, because man, I hear the stories up here, and I'm just overwhelmed. But this is not about me or Jeff, but just to give you a brief background myself. I was born and raised in Fairfield County. My mother, Ruthine Johnson, she retired. She taught here for 40-something years. So I got that energy from her, just being a little small child and hearing her come home and complain about and just talk about certain things that students weren't getting, that they don't have time to give as teachers. So that's what gave me the energy to want to help the youth. Let me start over. I had a scholarship, a football scholarship, Clemson University. And without my parents, I was blessed to have two parents, working parents. Like I said, my mom, she was a teacher. My dad hauled pulpwood. And I'm just speaking from the heart here. I don't have nothing written down but a few names. I'm just coming from the heart. It's so disappointing to see our youth and how they've fallen upon hard times. And we started this foundation just to give them basic skills that I was blessed to get because I had 2 good parents. We deal with the 3 C's: character, courage, and commitment. Without those 3 things, I would have never been able to succeed at Clemson and get a degree. And I also know what jobs are looking for. I worked on 4 companies. Now I'm blessed to have my own company. And I know what I look for. And I'll just take one instance. Self-confidence and self-esteem. That is huge. And it's something that all of us are not born with. Some of us have to be taught that and go through different experiences to build that. We have a big gang problem. Just those 2 things, self-confidence and self-esteem, will keep a lot of kids out of gangs. I work with a lot of gang members, so I know the reason why some of these kids get into gangs. We just want to make the kids better prepared for the real world. Just like I'm doing, looking at everybody in their eyes. Some people don't even know how to do that. This is something that has to be taught. We came up in a different time, so things that we take for granted, these kids aren't getting. And we want to help them with that. Just be respectable humans, and it's not about race. Jeff showed me a picture. He had the program going at Richard Wynn Academy. He had the kids graduate, and I looked at the picture, and I was like, man, Jeff, I love this. But it hurt me because, just to be honest, I didn't see anybody up there my complexion. So we're trying to bring it to the committee so everybody, all the kids, can have these same opportunities to help them out in life. It's already going to be hard, but at least some of these skills will give them a head start while other people are born into these head starts. We already have a huge board of members. Just some people to mention. Jody Norris, he's the first African-American FBI agent to run the field office in Columbia. He's on our board. Leomont Evans, he played football with me at Clemson. He played with the Redskins for 7 to 8 years. We have a lot of people that have pools and people they can pull in, but we need your help. Luke Company, they've already donated money to get us started. We've talked to Duke Energy, but they want to know that you guys gave us your blessings, are behind us, and everybody else will fall in. As I see, I've expired my time, but if you have any questions, if I can answer it, I'll be happy to at this point.
Any questions from council? Mr. Ruth?
Well, I gotta say to start with,
Go Tigers.
need to Paul go Tigers. I like no, but listen, and I tell you this, I'm glad you came instead of Jeff. He does ruffle some feathers for sure, but you're a good speaker too, so don't back down from that.
Sometimes you have to listen to the message and don't look at the message.
That's right.
People that all the time.
And sometimes it's difficult when the message is presented in different ways. You have to filter through it, but I think what you're doing is great, and I'm proud of what you've accomplished yourself personally as well. And but we'll have to look at because I'm really proud of what you're trying to do. That's great.
Yeah, I have a question. How long have y'all been organized?
We started up probably 6 years ago. We were gaining some momentum, but then the pandemic came and we had to shut down things, and we're just now starting to get going again. So that answers your question.
Yeah. And,
How many people are on your board?
As of now, we have 5.
Do y'all meet regularly or?
No, we were meeting regularly before the pandemic, so we're just starting back up. So we'll hopefully start having more meetings and getting everybody together.
Do y'all go into schools then and hold classes?
From churches to schools. And another thing I like to add, even if I see some people from I think the sheriff, we've met with Winsboro Police Department. Because my thing is, I would like them to send somebody to the group of kids that we're talking to. I feel that'll do 2 things. It'll keep the kids from being afraid of the police when they see them when they get older, and vice versa. The police won't be as afraid of the kids because they see them when they're young. This is just one way you have to try to fight this gang violence and police shootings and people shooting police. And I think somebody has to build a bridge. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying.
Ms. Green?
Thank you for speaking to us this evening. Um, in terms of looking at your budget, tell me about your physical location. Where are you physically?
Well, that's one of the things we're going to need for the budget. We need our home office. We need administrative. We have some really good people that we want to share with the youth. But my feeling is everybody's time is worth some money. So at least when we have a speaker or somebody, you can at least give them lunch, gas money or something. I do believe everybody's time is worth something, even though it's a nonprofit. But in my experience dealing with a nonprofit, you have to run a nonprofit like a for-profit. If not, you're not going to be around long.
Do you have any, or are you asking for any other funding sources?
I'm sorry.
Do you currently have any other funding sources, or is this?
Like I said,
but,
they've always given us a donation.
I missed that, sorry.
Also, in taking a look at your budget, tell me a little bit about your volunteer capacity.
What would you mean?
Do you have volunteers,
Yeah,
or are you all staff?
No, we have volunteers. Like I said, the names I just named, they have a wealth of people that just want to work because everybody sees that there's a problem with the youth and the younger people. Like I said, I don't have children here, but people I went to high school with, my friends, neighbors, they have kids and grandkids here. So I love Fairfield County. And I really don't like speaking like this, but I told Jeff, for the kids, I'll bite the bullet and I'll just speak to you guys. Because I said, now you stepped on too many toes up there, so they're not going to really get the message. So just let me try this one time.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying that the 5 members of your board are the ones who will be going out to give these programs?
No, we're going to have people, qualified people. We'll have to do some type of training with them. Those are the people that will go out and actually work with the kids hand in hand. And everybody will chip in some type of way.
Okay. So I didn't see training as a part of your budget. That was one of the...
I'm sorry?
I didn't see training as a part of your budget.
Well, that should be.
Okay.
That's something we have to change.
All right. Thank you.
I've spoken with you in the past, and I totally understand your passion for what you're doing, and I admire you for doing it, being a young man, reaching out to our younger youth and things like that. And I know that we have a problem with discipline as far as our youth is concerned. Being in business myself, I've had young people come up, they don't know how to ask for an interview. I mean, and they have to be trained. A lot of the youth are not getting that at home. We know that for a fact. And for you and your group to be doing something like that, my hat's off to you. And like I say, I know your passion, and I know your love for those kids, and I just want to say I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I apologize. I did see $1,500 in your budget for training. I did.
Appreciate it. It is in there.
Any other council members? Thank you.
Appreciate you.
There has been a request for a 5-minute break. So at this time, we will take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
because they're not reading from it, they got it right here, the paper copy, so they can just flip it and they can look and see. So they can look and see where they're at and flick it. So that ain't working. Y'all will? Y'all will flip it. So you want?
I don't think it'll reach.
Then just say that. I think you can follow. I don't know about you.
Or you can just say whoever the precinct said next one.
Oh shit, that means we last. If we number 8.
8.
Me too, man. But we're 8. I don't want to be number 8. That means we're last.
Yeah. But that's why I'm trying to see what order they're going in, so I can already have this stuff.
I know Laura showed me today what it was, so that's how she counted us down to 8.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if we could come back to order, please. Ms. Johnson.
Ms. Mosey?
Okay. We're transitioning to the department heads that are presenting their capital budget items, and they will start with their operating budgets and then proceed to their capital, personnel requests, and fee changes if they pertain to their departments. Council, if you would look at your folders. There's a large 11 by 17 report that has the capital budget requests by department. And the departments are here today with the exception of the airport and building maintenance. These departments originally put in capital requests, but they decided to withdraw them for fiscal year 24. And we left them on the spreadsheet for tracking and planning purposes. Okay? And the next sheet that you have is your expense budget worksheet for each department. The sheet here. It lists the departments in the left corner going down. You'll see your general fund departments listed, and it's one for each department that's presenting tonight. Also, the 4 columns going across, the 2023 adopted budget, our present budget, 2024 department request, and 2024 initial recommendation from the county administrator. The 4th column is the percentage increase and decrease between fiscal year 2023 and 2024 based on the county administrator's initial recommendations. And the percentages are based on the individual categories. If you see, you have categories for personnel services, contractual services, supplies and materials, fixed charges and contributions, travel and equipment, and so forth. Okay, so the percentages are based on those categories as a group, not on the individual line items. For example, on the community development one, you'll see for personnel services, the expenses increased from the present budget to the county administrator recommendation by 1.61%. Also note that we have a special report that we ran. This is a special report, but it had limitations. So the adapted budget, if you see for community development down to supplies and materials, 5318, data processing supplies. If you see in that first column for the 2023 budget is 0, but the county administrator request is 1,000, it's still showing it as 0. It won't show it as like 100% increase, and that's just kind of like a limitation with the program, but the overall percentages are shown for each grouping. Okay, and also just to note that for all departments, there were increases from fiscal year 23. And those were increases in personnel costs for retirement and medical insurance. They were up 1% or a little better. And also the unbudgeted 2 to 4% cost of living bonuses that were given during the year that will affect 23, and ongoing years. And also just inflationary effects for price increases for gas, consumer products, equipment, raw materials, etc. Okay, and at this time, we're ready for the department presentations. And departments, please be mindful and considerate of the time. I guess as you can see, we've already been here for a while, so just try to limit your presentation to 5 minutes or so, depending on the amount of capital and other items that you have. And also, we'll be allowing time for council to ask you questions as well. If you haven't already done so, please give your flash drives to, okay.
I'm just going to hand out.
Okay. Never mind on that one. And at this time, we'll go ahead and start with our first department, Community Development, which will be presented by our interim county administrator, Laura Johnson.
Good evening, council. I'm going to show them how not to do a presentation tonight. Okay, you have before you your budget report, worksheet report, which is this small piece of paper here. Okay, you see the percentages as Ms. Mosey has stated. If you go to the second page, the overall budget from 23 to the proposed budget for 2024 is an 8.4% increase. The last column at the end, 8.4%. Does everyone see that? Okay, that's the overall increase in the budget from 23 to 24. Okay, so the main reason for that 8.4% is on your first page, account number 5232. That's other contractual services. You can see that in 2023, it was $45,000. Now it's estimated it could possibly be up to $100,000. The reason for that being about a year or so ago, maybe a little bit less than a year, I'm not sure, we lost a building official and they also were the planning director. So the county has a month-to-month contract with, right now, it's about to end in the end of April with KCI, and it's going to Safe Build. It's a month-to-month. So we can get out of it at any time, and they already perform our building inspections, our plan reviews for both residential and commercial. Okay, so that is the main increase. They've also requested a code enforcement officer. I've already had that put in the budget for a code enforcement officer as well, because we only have one for the entire county, and I think they do need another one. So that's the reason for the 8.4% increase. So it really is pretty much immaterial, because normally I think in the past, I think that when we presented budgets in the past, unless it's changed, we normally would give explanations for anything that may be 10%, a 10% increase in the budget overall. So this is an 8.4% increase. Still taking into consideration that medical costs have gone up and retirement. So all of that plays a factor in this entire budget. So if you don't have any questions on operating, I can go to on your 8x17 sheet.
I have a question.
Hold on. Ms. Swearingen.
I almost got away with it.
That was a good try, though.
I didn't understand.
If I can answer the question.
I didn't understand what you were saying about the $100,000 thing. Can you go back there, because you're not at the mic and I can't hear you.
Oh, is this good? Can you hear me?
Kind of.
Okay, for other contractual services, in the salary line, we don't have an employee that's a building official, and it's my understanding that it has been advertised at least twice, and we haven't found anyone. Okay, so in lieu of that, a contract was entered into, a month-to-month contract, to where right now it's KCI, but we also have Safe Built Company. They come in and performs the county's building inspections, and they look at the residential and the commercial plan reviews. So that amount may seem high, but it just depends on how much activity and plan reviews that the county may have. So even with that, it's still a 8.4% increase in the budget. Okay.
I understand now. I just could not understand what you were saying about it. Good, thank you.
And I have one question. When's the last time we have advertised for that position? Is a way that we can advertise and get away from that contractual services?
Yes, we are planning on advertising it again and again until we find someone. And then, that's why this contract is month to month.
Okay.
So at any time, when we find a building official, we can get out of this agreement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you think the salary is not enough to entice somebody to come? Do you think that's the problem?
I'm not really sure. We have our HR person here. In the past, have you received applications?
We may have received one, that is it, and they did not even.
Okay. She said that over the course of advertising this position at least twice, only one person has applied and they did not meet the minimum qualifications. So it's my understanding that this is an issue with other counties as well, getting a building official. So hopefully this is a temporary fix.
Yes, I think during the discussions last year, we received money from the stabilization fund, and we had talked about maybe putting a new position in the community development office. And
yes, ma'am, there is some funding that's available, and I believe if it's not already done, so we're getting ready to put that advertisement out for that particular position.
Thank you.
Okay, and we go, I'm sorry, anybody else? If we go on to capital real quick on your 11 by 17 sheet. As Ms. Beverly's already stated with the airport, they originally asked for this and then they called and said they didn't need it at this time. The same thing with the maintenance. So with community development, I have approved, my recommendation is for the planning plotter. It prints all the big documents, the surveys, the house plans, et cetera. And the one that they have is 8+ years old and is actually falling apart. So the useful life of that particular item is about 5 years, I think, and it's been, I think, over 8+, it's been like 8+ years. So I'm making a recommendation for that and not the vehicle. Any other questions?
150,000 miles is not a lot of miles.
I know, right?
I'm driving one with 300,000.
I got one with 400,000.
Okay, you got me beat. Okay.
Okay, and next we'll have, I have the coroner next. And with the coroner, I'm trying to help out a little bit. With the coroner, if you look at this budget right here, you will see that on the second page, does everybody have the sheet? If you go to the second page, his budget increased by 8.49%. And that's really not a lot, taking into consideration that if you see the calculated amounts, the coroner didn't ask for pretty much any increases except in maybe 2 areas. The largest area is in the salaries and fringe, and again, you take it into consideration changes in medical insurance, changes in state retirement, and also police retirement went up. So the bulk of his increase in his budget, which is, again, a small amount, 8.49%, is related to personnel services, which is mostly the state and the police retirement. Okay, and I'll also have the coroner come to explain his request, capital request for a vehicle for his admin deputy in the amount of $20,000.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Hill, the county coroner. I took the liberty, my administrative assistant took the liberty to put a little package together for y'all to show you a little stuff that, we do at the coroner's office. First is, the calls we run and the autopsies and all. Also in the back, you got the state legislative describing the duties and the job responsibilities of the coroners, just in case y'all didn't know. So, but I appreciate y'all time today. I am asking for $20,000 to get a vehicle for my administrative assistant, Ms. Donna Clowney. She is also a deputy coroner also. During our work week, Monday through Friday, me and her on call at 6 a.m. in the morning. And we on call until 6 p.m. A lot of times the calls, she responds just as well as I do. For the last couple homicides and fatalities, it's been on her side of the county over in the western part. So she responds in her personal vehicle, knowing that she is not covered under the county insurance when she do respond to these calls and stuff. So that's the reason why I'm asking for that, to try to get her equipped with a vehicle so she would be able to respond safely, and if anything happened, she would be covered under the county insurance.
$20,000, that's a used vehicle?
Yes, sir. I'm not trying to hit nobody in the head, I can pretty much.
This would be specifically her vehicle, or would it be rotated between all your deputy coroners whenever they on call?
It would be her assigned vehicle. And, for she can respond. We do have another vehicle that we got through the ARP funding. We do have that. The deputy coroners does use that. But, majority of the time, when a call go out at 6 a.m., she live over, in the Councilman Swearingen neck of the woods. Up in Shelton and up in that area. She don't have time to come all the way back to Winsboro to get a vehicle and then respond. My response time, I try to keep it under 30 minutes. I don't want the families to have to wait no longer, for us to get there. They already grieving now. So we try to keep our response time, at least 30 minutes or less. So, but anytime a call go out on her side, she responds in her vehicle, her personal vehicle, to the call.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I take it that you don't have a spare vehicle now for her to drive home?
No, sir.
And keep, okay.
No, sir. Even county don't even have nothing, so, yes, sir. So I have been speaking, Councilman Roseboro with the BART with the state surplus. They normally get a lot of state agency vehicles in that are pretty well maintained. And so, when, if it does get approved, I'll be purchasing it from the state surplus. Yes, sir.
Will that be a high mileage vehicle?
No, sir. Normally, Councilman Gilbert, that the stuff that comes into state surplus is pretty good mileage on them. Not a whole lot. I would say, give or take, probably 70,000 to 80,000 miles. I just got a 2016 from them, had like 90,000 miles on the four-wheel drive. So.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But they're well-maintained vehicles, and he's not going to sell you something that he wouldn't drive himself. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say that Donna being out there on that end of the county is a plus.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're out in the boonies, and anytime somebody's coming from Winsboro out there, it takes a long time to get out there. And if somebody's had a wreck or something, they need to be there quick. And so that's.
We try to, Councilman Swearingen, we try to get there as safely and quick as possible.
Yeah.
Because the family's already grieving. Plus, we don't want to hold EMS up. 9 times out of 10, EMS is on the scene. So as soon as we get there, we can let EMS clear up.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Good job.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Next, we will have the detention center. Their overall budget increased by 14.85%, and they are requesting juvenile housing for the detention center was their major increase. In that category, 10.67%. And they are requesting to replace the detention center's locking system.
Good afternoon. Harriet Squawell, Director of Fairfield County, along with my deputy, Ms. Kendra Baltnight.
Pull the mic down, please.
Department overview. We are committed to protecting the community, staff, and inmates and property while remaining fiscally responsible in meeting the needs of Fairfield County by partnering with the South Carolina Department of Correction. Together, we strive to protect the citizens by confining offenders in controlled facilities and by providing rehabilitation, self-improvement opportunities, preparing inmates for entering into the system. Okay, my capital item will be locks for the facility. Locks is crucial for maintaining safety of the staff and the inmates. As a door lock is a mechanism used for safety and security purposes. Estimated cost for these locks would be $175,240.28. The benefits of is limited escape risk, enhancing security, and controlled movements. These locks are about 25 years old. They've been there, when I first started there, they were air locks. They've been turned into cylinder locks, but they are the same locks. And to enhance security purposes, as you've seen on the news, at a local facility in Columbia, the doors was not locking, and 5 inmates were able to leave their cells and kill an inmate, and we don't want that to happen in Fairfield County.
Council members?
Didn't we replace
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
locks about 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken? 25?
They wasn't replaced, they were turned, from my understanding, they were once air locks and they converted them into cylinder locks, but they are actually still the same locks.
Thank you.
I had the same question because I think when I was on council last time, we did something,
Yeah, that's
upgraded the
Yeah,
locking
that's right.
system, yeah, okay.
Hey, and you're still looking to repair that roll-up door, am I correct?
The roll-up door has been repaired.
Right. And the question was asked earlier, could you to pull chain,
No.
that it's not functional, right? Correct?
No.
Okay, that's,
The only question I have, I don't know how many companies specialize in detention center locks. Did we get prices from more than one company, or how did this price come about?
Well, when I called the other surrounding counties, everybody was using TSC, Newberry and Chester, so.
Okay, so that's what they told you, but we hadn't actually got,
TSC also.
okay, but we hadn't actually got somebody to come in and look
No.
and give us a price.
Well, I got this from TSC.
Okay.
And also, the They do like our camera systems and everything, so if you do go with another company, you talking about probably changing our camera system, cause all that's kind of tied in together.
No, my question is, I just wanted to make sure, I understand where she got it from, but wanted to make sure there was something in writing or documentation that this was the price, because if we approve this, and then it ain't gonna be 2 months when they decide to redo the locks, now it's $200,000, and y'all have to come back and submit another request for an additional funding. I want to make sure that this is the price going forward if we decide to do this.
Well,
You
no,
right, that would be an
estimated
because
cost.
it could change, so you right on that part.
When we spoke to them, they said it was an estimated cost. They didn't give us a direct cost because of the parts, and it was a certain company that done all the locks, and so, yeah, they just gave us an estimate. At that time, he didn't give us, he said he would get back with us, and he has not. So this is just an estimate.
Ms. Johnson, I mean, I would like to make sure, going forward, that the person responsible for getting back in touch with them does so we can make sure that we get as close to this cost as we can, if that's what we need to do.
Yes, normally when we get quotes, most of the time our vendors will put on the quote that this quote is good for 90 days or 60, so that way we know exactly, how long this quote is going to be. But yes, please reach back out.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we will have EMS. Their overall budget increased 3.88%. And they are requesting several capital items.
Those packets are really thick, but it's not all necessarily stuff we're going to discuss. I'll give you a bunch of information so that way you guys can review. Name's Dan Sloan. I'm the director of EMS. I'm here to kind of give you a brief overview of our operations and go over our budget for the fiscal year 2024. You have packets getting handed out right now. They are paper clipped together, so if you go ahead and remove that paper clip, we're going to be going over the slides, but that's a Fairfield County EMS fiscal year 24 budget.
And before we begin with EMS, I wanted council to be aware that it appears that with the capital, with all our capital, looking back at the last 2 fiscal years, there hadn't been any budgeted capital. So when you go through these sheets, you see a lot of requests, but normally we try to buy capital every year, so this list won't be so long. So just wanted you to be aware of that.
So giving you a brief overview of EMS, because people are not really familiar with what EMS does. They understand the general concept that we respond to medical emergencies, but we do a lot more. Each of our crews consist of either paramedics or EMTs. Paramedics are the more highly trained personnel responsible for the decisions on the truck, and the EMT is the newly inducted into the EMS world with the lower skill set, but still an important part of our team. Each of our ambulances are mobile emergency rooms. We carry equipment that is above the standard that South Carolina DHEC put forth, and I would even say that Fairfield County actually probably has the top 1% in the state of equipment and training to treat our patients. We put a lot of emphasis on making sure that we have every tool available to treat anything that we're faced. And in fact, just this week, we put nitrous oxide onto the trucks, which is one of the few EMS systems in the state of South Carolina that actually does that, because it is a better alternative to the opioid with the opioid crisis going on. We have 6 units They're stationed throughout the county, so that way we can respond to an emergency anywhere throughout the county. We're also responsible for a lot of other different things. We are the only full-time, 24/7 staffed emergency response for any kind of rescue services. We provide nuclear contamination response for the entire county, not just VC Summers. Yearly, we receive training and certification through FEMA and SCEMD, and we get tested on it, which we are very successful at. We are trained and equipped to respond to vehicle entrapments after accidents. Each of our ambulances actually carries the equipment to extricate a patient, and we also have a supervisor's truck that has more advanced equipment for extrication. We also have water rescue. We can do swift water rescue and flat water rescue, and we have all-terrain rescue, which is pretty important for us because of Carolina Venture World. Last year, we responded 69 times to Carolina Venture World. That is a very complicated rescue operation that takes several hours. The next slide kind of covers our call volume over the last couple of years and the types of calls that we respond to. In 2022, we responded to 5,244. And you kind of got a breakdown of our more serious calls that we responded to throughout the years. So that way you could see that our crews stay pretty busy and we're not faced with the mundane. We're actually almost daily responding to something that is of critical nature. A brief overview of our general fund items. You get a quick snapshot and it's a breakdown of each of the line items of our budget. If it is in green, it's a reduction from our current budget. If it's in red, it's an increase. Just kind of briefly go through, you can see the snapshot as a quick look, but each of the slides following behind is a more in-depth breakdown of our line items. Going into data processing, 5202, we have incorporated a digital narcotics tracking software to be compliant with the upcoming DEA regulations because we do have narcotics on our trucks and at our stations. Is a digital system that allows us to track every vial of narcotics as it moves through our system up to use or waste. It's a cost of $2,000 a month or a year. Yeah.
But before you went any further, that's something that has to be done. I mean, that's not a...
It doesn't have to be done. It is smart to be done. If we were to lose one vial of narcotics, it would require an investigation by the DEA and law enforcement, and it's not something we really want to deal with. It's going to have negative consequences all around. Prior to the actual digital tracking of software, we were utilizing pieces of paper that we stored for years on end. There's more susceptible to fraud and diversion of narcotics. We realize that to be a problem. I'm a very firm believer that every vial of narcotics should be tracked in every hand that it ever touches. Okay. So that's why we incorporated it to the system because it's pretty foolproof and it's easy to use for our crews.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Vehicle services, we have an aging fleet. It is increasingly getting older as we go on. As Ms. Johnson said, we have not received any ambulances except for the one that you just approved recently in 3 years. So our fleet is aging very rapidly. And that requires us to do a lot of maintenance. Just this year, we've blown 3 turbos on our diesel engines. And it's not a maintenance issue, it's just our trucks are on the road and they're getting utilized a lot. So we've asked for an increase of $3,000. Same thing with the non-vehicle services. Sorry, I skipped one. 5203 is an increase of $21.56. Our equipment's aging as well. Monitors, stretchers, all of our high-value item equipments, they require constant servicing, and some of these are getting to the end of their lifespan. They're at 10, 11 years in use. As you can imagine, doing heavy-duty rescues, this equipment does get beat up, and it's very expensive to keep maintained and repair. Education and training, 5206, we've asked for an increase of $3,550. This is what we cover the cost to provide CPR training to the community, also to provide training to our EMS personnel, as well as county employees. For most organizations, we don't charge anything to provide CPR training. After the meeting that I had with the Mitford community, we trained roughly 35 personnel out in the Mitford community on first aid and CPR, no cost to them. If it's an organization that they operate for profit, then we do charge them just the cost of replacing the CPR cards. But just this year, in the fiscal year, we have taught over 400 CPR and first aid classes to the public. That's not including the staff of EMS. 5211, that's just a brief, we looked at our usage of utilities and realized that there's a decrease. So we've noticed that we can decrease those budgets slightly. Same thing, cell phone and satellite usage. We do need an increase of satellite usage of 290, and that's just the cost of providing satellite service to the station since our crews are there for 24 hours. Cell phone, we've gone through, we've scoured through our plans, we've cut accounts that we don't need, and we're also looking to move over to the FirstNet, which will also increase our savings. So we notice that we can decrease our budget by $3,700. Equipment maintenance agreement, same thing. We noticed that our utilization of the equipment agreements is we can reduce it by $3,000 and still maintain. 5227 software maintenance agreement. We need an increase of $1,095, and that is the companies that provide our digital software for our report tracking, patient reports, our scheduling and stuff. They've gone up in cost, so we need to match those same increases. EMS billing service, this is a company that provides our billing to the patients after we run calls. We need an increase of $5,000. That will get us generally in the ballpark. We can never 100% say what the actual cost is going to be. It's kind of contractual agreement that it's a percentage of whatever we bill out that we get charged. So we're roughly in that ballpark of $50,000 every year that we have to pay to our billing department.
I hate to bother you.
No, you're fine.
But do y'all, back when I worked for EMS, we did our own in-house billing. Is there a reason that we don't do our own in-house?
It's super complicated, and they recover 85% of what we bill out. They do a very good job of what they do.
Do you bill it out? I mean, do you broker it? I mean, do you ask for bids? Do you bid it out, or is it just?
This was all taken care of years ago. It's a company that we've never had any problems with. We found no need to see if there's other billing agencies out there. As I said, they're very successful at getting us bills. We do not send anything to collections, and they do recover 85% of what we bill out.
Okay.
Roughly. Motor vehicle supplies, this is the cost of doing business, of doing our oil changes and the supplies for maintaining our vehicles, increase of $35.50. This is the big one, gasoline and diesel, $53.20. We historically over the years go over our budget, and in fact in 2023 we're already over budget and we still have several months left to go. We're asking for an increase of $39,000 up to $120,000 to be our budget. We average roughly about $9,000 a month in usage in diesel. Membership and dues and fees, we can reduce by $700, and that's just, we don't need it. We can reduce it slightly and still maintain what we need to pay our bills for. And then Lifeline phone charges, we initially provided Lifeline services to the public. We were a tech center for a company, and we did the little life alert systems. We are actually in the process of transferring that to the County on Aging, Council on Aging. They're going to take over that, so we can reduce our budget of $25,000 to zero and give that to whatever it can be used. We're no longer maintaining as a tech support for Lifeline.
I'm sorry, I have another question. The 6 places that they go out to, do they go out there and stay for their whole 24 hours or whatever they do unless they have a call?
Yes, they're at the station for at least 24 hours. Our schedules operate 24/72s, but there are some times that people work 48s or even 96s.
So if they don't have a call, they just stay at the station?
Yes, they live at the station. But
Okay.
There's other things that happen during a shift. They do come in for training. There's other things that we also incorporate. They don't just typically sit there at the station for 24 hours. There's other things that do go on.
Okay.
So capital budget items, we have pretty much vehicles is going to be our main request for this year. We have not resupplied our vehicles, and we are going through that is going to be our failure point. I can already see it. We are in desperate need of replacing our fleet of ambulances. The ones that we need to replace are Medic 1, 4, and 11. These are the old international white and orange ones that you see occasionally. You don't see them often because we do keep them up at headquarters. They're very rough for the patients if you've ever been in one. If you are fractures and injured, it is a very painful ride. Also, these vehicles were manufactured by TaylorMade. They were now currently bankrupt, and they were found to be falsifying some of their safety data for the crash tests on their ambulances. We know this to be an issue. Our vehicles are no longer up to what is considered safe for an ambulance, and we cannot retrofit them. The cost to retrofit those trucks is more than what the actual truck's worth. So we can't even modify the ambulances to the new crash standards. And the problem with that is as a DHEC regulation, there's a lot of things that cover the ambulances, and whenever there's a problem and they got to go for maintenance, if it's longer than 2 weeks to repair, we are technically supposed to contact DHEC, decertify the ambulance. When it gets repaired, they come out, re-inspect it, and then it gets recertified. The problem is these ambulances are no longer compliant. If they ever get decertified, we just lose the ambulance. We can never recertify again. So that's why we're in desperate need of getting rid of these 3 trucks and replace it with the new fleet. Build time on these is 18 to 24 months. If we would have ordered an ambulance yesterday, we'd still be waiting 8 to 12 months, or if we ordered last budget year, we'd still be waiting 8 to 12 more months before it gets delivered. That's why it's very important that we do take steps to order as soon as, because the supply issue is not going to get any better. The cost of the 3 ambulances is $1,110,642. And the next couple slides is some data. We drive over 250,000 miles a year with our vehicles, so that puts a lot of wear and tear. And additionally, the engine hours is 2 to 3 times higher than what is a typical unit, because the units do stay on scene and they have to idle, so that way everything can remain powered up. The next slide is our current fleet, is a breakdown of kind of where our fleet is, and it shows the vehicles that are over 10 years old or over 250,000 miles. That is our goal for our fleet, is to replace them before they hit those milestones, and most of our fleet is actually at that milestone now. Yeah. The last other thing is we have 2 QRVs. QRVs give us flexibility responding to emergencies. DHEC regulation states that if we're going to respond with an ambulance, it's got to have 2 crew members, so it's got to have a paramedic EMT or 2 EMTs. If somebody goes home sick, we need QRVs to be able to first respond to emergencies. Currently, we have an F-150 that was involved in an accident, has been totaled out, and we have a wheelchair van that is out for maintenance and cost prohibitive to repair. So we're looking to replace those with a Silverado and a Durango at a cost for $83,500 for the Silverado and $69,980 for the Durango. And then the last little slide there is the overview of our capital budget for the next 5 years. So this was going to be the year that we were going to replace our monitors because they were at 10 years, but we're in such dire need for ambulances. We're going to push that off a year in hopes that we can replace them with vehicles. All right, so the last couple things, personnel requests. First thing is I'm not sure which one you have first. 5% pay increase for EMS at a cost of $167,205. Currently, there is a shortage, and every EMS agency is increasing pay Aiken has moved their paramedic pay starting at $61,000. That is above our top. And that's their starting pay for a brand new paramedic. Lancaster has done the same thing. We have done every step we can. We've recruited amazingly. We went from 18 slots to we have 6 open slots now. But now we're kind of hitting that wall where everybody's increasing their pay so fast that it's hard for us to overcome that. And the second thing is that we have 3 frozen positions from the 22 fiscal year budget that we are requesting that those get unfrozen again. So that's pretty much it for information-wise. The remainder of those information in those packets is for you. The first one is kind of where it says Fairfield County EMS March 23. As of March 2023, the highlighted number is what we've recovered in our billing, and that's gone back into the general fund. We are expected to probably gross at least $1.2 million back into the general fund. The next thing is South Carolina DHEC Regulation 61.7. This covers everything that has to be operational on an ambulance for us to use it. It is very in-depth, and it covers everything from if the AC doesn't cool to 75 degrees, we cannot utilize that ambulance. So that's why it's very important for us. It also covers all the equipment that we're required to have on the unit. So if today that piece of equipment that's dictated by DHEC is $5 and tomorrow it's $200, we still have to pay $200 for that because DHEC says that it must be on the ambulance. And then the very last thing right here, this is what happens when EMS agencies fail, is Aiken County, the national media ran them over, backed up, ran them over again because they were unable to respond to calls. And then they're not the only service. It is becoming a national thing where the news highlight the stories of EMS agencies that are failing. I do not want this county to be in the national news because we have failed in one way, shape, or form. So, any questions?
Mr. Roseborough.
Yes, sir, what is your call time?
Call time?
Yes.
Our response time right now, as of today, over the last year, is 10 minutes and 23 seconds. Okay. That's from us being notified to arrival on scene.
Okay. Have there ever been a time where there's been areas in the county that EMS, was not able to respond? Like
Not
different areas?
Respond, no. We've always responded. It might be delayed slightly, but that could be, we could have all 6 trucks. The prime example is in beginning of January here in Winsboro. We have 6 units that were on duty. They were all at their stations. In the matter of 5 minutes, we've had 5 911 calls in Winsboro. So that's most of our EMS agencies. They're coming from Southeastern to Winsboro. We utilize firefighters, our first responders, myself, the deputy director to get on scene quickly, but still those ambulances are coming all the way from Southeastern. We can never predict where the calls are going to be. We try to position our ambulances in standby positions when there's gaps and openings to cover the largest amount of county that we can at that time.
Okay. So you're saying we've always been able to cover the whole entire county?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called Situation Zero. When there's no ambulances available or nobody able to respond, we have not been faced with that.
Can I ask you a question? So if you got those 6, you said there's 6 that positions available on field?
Correct.
And then you said that there was...
There's 3 frozen positions. There's 3 positions that we cannot fill. They were there in the past and they took them away. We're asking to unfreeze those, that way we can staff them.
So you have 3 unfilled now, and then if we unfroze them...
6 positions. If I was to hire every position that HR allowed me to hire today, I can only hire 6. If you guys were to unfreeze those, I could hire 9.
How many do you need to have to be operating at full capacity?
9.
You need 9.
Yes.
Why were they frozen?
It was a staffing issue. We were having a hard time filling our positions, and it was a cost-saving measure. They could utilize those funds in other departments.
So you feel as though if you had 9 positions and you could get the money, then you could get them all filled and you could have a whole total thing and we would feel as though the county was covered with EMS coverage?
I feel we are decent right now. I wouldn't say we're the best, but our crews are doing an amazing job on covering the counties and covering the emergencies that we're facing. But having 9 more people, yes, would be definitely beneficial to us. We do have stations that are shut down at certain points during the weeks and days, yes.
Yes, I know the one out at Blair is.
That unfortunately is the station that has the lowest call volume in our service.
And I know it's unfortunately close to my house. And what if I fell out in the backyard or something? You know how old people are. Somebody's got to come from way far to get me.
We do cover areas. As I said, like if Jenkinsville was to go on a call, the headquarters truck or the Greenbrier truck would actually move closer to that side of the county to be able to cover it. And we also have an amazing job by the first responders with the fire department.
Right, right. But you need 9 people.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, could you please clarify that for us, please? It's our understanding that, yes, you need 9 people, like basically officers, we need police officers and others. But most often, you've not been able to find people to fill the positions. Is that correct?
We are still recruiting and we're still hiring almost on a weekly basis. The problem is we're facing a hospital will hire a paramedic starting at $70,000. Aiken will start at a paramedic $61,000. There is always going to be people that chase the money. There's no undoing that. We do have a very dedicated group of employees that they are here because of what we do and how we treat our patients and how good of a service we actually are.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's understood that most people in the state, most agencies in the state of South Carolina have had trouble hiring people.
Yes, but we are actually doing better. I would say that as a service, we probably have more paramedics than Lexington County does, which I'm not knocking them, but they're a very big county and we probably have more paramedics than they do.
So how long do you think it'll take to fill those 6 positions you have?
We're down 18 before October. I made some changes to our schedule. We're down 6 months at most,
right.
If we really get into recruiting. And part of the problem was with COVID, the paramedic schools weren't in, so that's a whole year. It takes a year to create a paramedic, or actually longer. So that's a whole year that we lost of paramedics coming into the system. So we're still having to pull from the pool of other services, but we do a good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, very quick. So we can make sure we understand here. You asking for $167,205 for a 5% pay increase for your EMS employees. And according to this sheet, that if we don't grant you this 5% pay increase, EMS units would be forced to shut down stations not meeting DEC regulations.
I'm just saying, for recruiting-wise, if we were to lose more employees, we would have to shut down because we won't be able to fully crew an ambulance, yes.
Okay. And then you're asking for 276, 426 for the positions that's frozen. And then you're asking for $1,264,000 for vehicles, correct?
For the ambulances, yes.
Yeah.
That's not including the Durango and the Tahoe, or the Silverado.
Okay.
URVs.
And when was the last time you received an ambulance?
You guys just approved one several months ago. We haven't received it yet, but it's going to be roughly 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
Could you repeat that? Did you say 3 to 4 years?
3 or 4 years ago is the last ambulance that we received.
Oh, last.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh,
Yeah, that was until last year, right?
What's that?
That was until last year when you were approved for 1 ambulance?
Yeah.
Before then, it was 3.
The ambulance that just got approved, which we haven't received yet, we won't receive that for at least a year from now. But yes, actual received an ambulance to the service is roughly 3 years ago, 4 years ago, somewhere in between that.
Thank you.
But thank you for approving that ambulance. I appreciate that. Thank you.
At this time, we will have fire services. Their overall budget increased 12.6%, and it was mainly due to gas costs for each of the fire stations. They are requesting capital and a personnel request.
I'm Jamie Webb, the Deputy Chief of Fire Service. The handout they're going to be passing out, I'll let them get that out. While they're doing that, I'll just cover the budget worksheet. The biggest single request, we had some smaller stuff, but the biggest single is additional vehicle service request of $32,000 to get a third-party company to perform the yearly service on all of our fire apparatus, meaning service to truck, all the attached equipment, service to pumps, just certain things that the shop here isn't equipped to do that a third-party company will actually go station to station and perform all of it for us. So that is about the largest single request out of the budget worksheet stuff. The capital request that she passed out to y'all, basically overview, were 15 fire stations, including the new one being built. We have 60 vehicles, currently 8 full-time, 7 part-time staff. We have 110 volunteers actively on the roster. About 60 run the majority of the calls for the county, though. Last year, we responded to 1,261 calls for service. The first capital request we have is for a 4-wheel drive F-250 truck to replace a 06 Colorado we currently have. Has 160,000 miles on it. It's just a 2-wheel drive truck. It's used by our maintenance division and basically no longer fits our needs for the stuff we need to carry, what we need to be able to do. The second capital request I have is for a needs assessment study, which would be hiring a consultant to create a needs assessment to address future staffing and facility locations, and $50,000 is what we ask for that. The third capital request would be for 2 2,000-gallon commercial cab tankers. They're $390,000 each. It would replace a 1983 and a 1984 tanker. One of those are currently out of service with a blown transmission that would cost more than the truck's worth to replace if we could even find a transmission as old as the truck is. The other one has had numerous breakdowns, including 2 instances where it actually caught on fire due to engine malfunction. So imagine that, a fire truck catching on fire. With those, the other reasoning too behind asking for 2 at once, not only do we need the trucks, but the longer you put off buying them, on average, fire trucks go up about 8% a year in cost. So every year they're going to just steady go up in cost. The final capital is a request for $250,000 for a used ladder truck to replace our 1981 truck. Last year, it barely passed its ladder test. The previous years, it had trouble. The first line on last year's ladder test was, due to age and condition, truck needs to be replaced. So even the test company's recommending to replace that truck. So that is the capital request, and then the personnel request we had is going to be for a full-time fire marshal. State law says that we're supposed to quarterly inspect every business in the county, do a fire inspection and do yearly inspections. Plus, with the county's growth, new industry, new business, they'll need to do the sprinkler reviews, sprinkler inspections, so we need that full-time fire marshal to fulfill the obligations we have on that. I had also requested 4 more daytime firefighters that would be Monday through Friday daytime firefighters, just to help supplement the volunteer shortage during daytime, especially people at work, at their jobs, working outside the county.
Sorry. With those, did you say 4 full-time?
Yes, ma'am, 4 full-time daytime firefighters.
Would they be throughout the county, or where would you be wanting to do that?
They would be throughout the county. We currently have 4 stations staffed with full-time daytime, and then I have 2 more I'm staffing with part-time. If we got the 4 additional, I would staff the 6 busiest stations with full-time. I would double up with a second full-time at the 2 busiest stations to allow them to respond 2 trucks at a time. And then I would also fill in with the part-time at some other stations. But the one thing we have to look at is we still have a lot of stations in the county that don't have the accommodations to put a full-time firefighter there without major renovation. There's no heated and air-conditioned space. There's nowhere to house them there. But even with the current full-time staff I have and any more I add, they don't just stay at one station. They float around in other areas doing the truck checks, equipment checks, making sure everything's ready at the other stations and responding there as well.
So if you got those 4 full-time firefighters, would that help alleviate some of this, the shortage and the problem that their houses are burning up before they get there?
It would definitely help with our daytime response time, yes, ma'am.
I mean, I know.
It wouldn't be in daytime or nighttime, it wouldn't make as much a difference. That's when we have volunteer coverage. It would definitely help our daytime responses.
I know that our fire department at Feasterville is not equipped, because I talked about that, but it's not equipped for somebody. But do you have to have a shower and all that for somebody to be there a few hours a day just to kind of cover it, or?
The shower is so after a house fire they can shower and decon for health reasons, reducing firefighter cancer. But the biggest thing too with some stations like your Feasterville areas is it's just a shell of a building. So if it's a 100-degree summer day and you house somebody in the building, there's no space for them to even cool down. There's no break area. It's just a shell of a building.
Okay.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
They would be sitting in a 100-degree heat 8 hours a day. You know, there's really no space for them there.
Well, I don't mean 8 hours a day, but I was just saying, maybe a couple hours a day floating around or something. We have no protection up there where we are, because the ones who do fight the fires, like the Clownies and those folks, they're there after work, but they're not there during the day.
Yes.
So, and of course, I guess that's with any volunteer fire department.
Yes,
I'm just trying to get us some help up there in Feasterville.
yes, ma'am. I understand.
So you need 4 firefighters.
That's what we asked for, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rue?
Yeah, sitting in that 100-degree building, kind of like sitting in my hardware store in the summer, no air conditioning. I know how that is. Anyway, this one request for the 2,000-gallon tankers, $390,000 each. What's those are new, and is that right?
What's that now?
Those are new tankers.
That's brand new trucks, yes, sir.
And then what would be the delivery time?
Right at 2 years.
That's what I
We
thought.
do currently have one on order through the ARPA, if I remember correctly, and that's a 2-year time on that.
That's what I thought. And this 100-foot ladder truck that you have one located?
No, sir, we would have to try to locate one once it's been
Okay.
approved, either through gov deals, looking through used truck dealers, that kind of avenue.
Okay.
Not having anything picked out yet, because stuff like that moves so quick, it would be hard to pick it out once it moves.
Miss Laura. Is Miss Laura over there? Miss Laura, do we have any kind of, like grants to help with this funding for the fire department or the EMS? Or any grants out there like that?
There's a big SAFER grant that they apply for every year, but unfortunately, they have not been able, have not been approved for that grant. I can't remember how many firefighters it will pay for, but I can't remember the number.
But I think this year when we did it, we asked for 6, and I don't think it's closed yet. So
Right, so they had.
there's a possibility, but we've never got it in the past.
Have we applied for this one for this year?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, that's what I was saying, we applied for 6 firefighters this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, can you give me an estimate of the, your response time, your daytime response time compared to your evening or nighttime response time?
In front of me, I just have the total average day and night.
Okay.
I could get those numbers, I would just have to go in and run a different report and get it separated out.
Okay.
But if you want it, I can give you the total day and night if it makes a difference.
Okay, basically, just want to kind of comparative analysis and taking a look at, you know, what our benefit will be for our full-time firefighters.
I can get that number and send it to Ms. Johnson and her pass it along if that works for y'all.
Great, thank you.
I don't have to split in front of me on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Webb, I want to say thank you. With the recent departure of Mr. Pope, I kind of know you was thrown into the budget process, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here. The fire marshal position, I firmly believe we need, and I think it's being requested 3, 4, 5 years, and we never granted it to the fire service. And I think to make sure that Fairfield County is protected by all means, that, you know, we need to try to find a way to approve that fire marshal position. I would ask that you and Ms. Johnson, along with other first responding services, EMS, the Sheriff's Department, if you would, for council, y'all have a lot of requests. And we know you wouldn't come up here if you didn't need it. But for us, if y'all can kind of prioritize the Sheriff's Department, EMS, and the fire services, if for some reason you don't get everything you're asking for, if you can kind of prioritize what is needed the most for us to look at. So if we can't do 5 vehicles and we can do 2 or 3, what do you need the most, so we can look at that?
Yes, sir, that's understandable. I'll get that together and get it to Ms. Johnson.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
One question. Is it normally the fire director is normally the fire marshal, right?
By default, the fire chief of a fire department is the fire marshal. That's law by default. But the majority of departments have a separate fire marshal division with a fire marshal, fire inspector that does all the work, just because the number of businesses, the number of inspections, that would be a very hard job for somebody to be a successful chief or director and properly do their job of completing all the necessary inspections.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Council, the general capital projects are not in the budget for fiscal year '24. Whenever council decides to move forward with these projects, we'll use the local accommodations taxes for that purpose. And next, we will do recreation. They had a 7.55% increase. They also have personnel requests and capital equipment requests.
Good evening, Council. So in your folder, you're going to have a slideshow presentation that includes a brief overview over the Parks and Rec Department, as well as our budget worksheet for the 24 fiscal year. I think in the essence of time, I'll jump right to the capital requests, unless y'all have any questions regarding our daily operation or anything that, the programs that we offer, services that we offer. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Lucas, make sure you go over your request for your athletic director, I believe. Okay.
Before we jump to the capital request, though, was there any questions about services or programs from the Parks and Rec Department?
Mr. Vance, I appreciate you being here. The only thing I would ask in reference to programs, is there a way that we could host tournaments, whether it's pickleball tournaments, whether it's any kind of sports tournaments, to recoup money into Fairfield County for our recreation department?
So I'll start with pickleball. Pickleball is growing very quickly for Fairfield County. It's spread not only from Winsboro, but to the Midford Community Center. We've got citizens that are calling now, asking for pickleball at Monticello Center, at the park, outside and indoor as well. We have expanded some indoor play with some lines in Winsboro as well. So we do have some free play. We do have a grant right now, an application for a grant, for a PARD grant, to expand outdoor pickleball with the intent to host tournaments. So there are some improvements that need to be made to the courts. In the grant I've applied for, it includes 4 additional courts, permanent nets and poles, windscreens. So that way you would have 8 outdoor courts and 3 indoor courts, which that would be enough to host a tournament. Any type of district, regional tournament, we could host that. As far as hosting tournaments for like youth athletics, Drawdy Park has 3 fields, so I think it's got enough space. There are some infrastructure issues you might have, like scoreboards. So fields don't have scoreboards. We do need some upgrades to the restrooms. There's not the concession. We need some upgrades there as well. So there are some upgrades that I think the park would need. You could host a tournament. I don't think it would be the best tournament that you could do if you made some upgrades, though. Mm-hmm. Any other questions from council? Okay, so I'll start with the capital request, and unless you had any questions regarding our operational budget, I can answer those as well. No questions regarding the operational budget? Okay, so we'll jump right to the capital request then. So we do have a capital request in. It was actually just shy of a capital request. We're asking for 2 commercial zero-turn mowers. Right now we've got a subtotal of those for each one is $10,327 before tax. After tax, the 2 mowers would total out at $22,099.99. These mowers can run our current mowers run approximately about 900 hours per year. So the heavy cutting season goes anywhere from about 7 to 8 months. We've got 21 parks and/or facilities in our inventory that we do maintain the grounds for. And a good rule of thumb is that the horsepower of your mower is going to give you about 100 hours per horsepower. So this specific mower that we're requesting is a 35 horsepower mower, so that would give us about 3,500 hours worth of use. The previous mowers that were purchased was in 2014. So these mowers are we're spending a lot of different assorted costs, not only in the shop for repairs, but we're spending a lot of different assorted costs for supplies for the mowers, anywhere from, obviously blades, belts, deck wheels, spindles, batteries, fuel injectors, carburetors. So we're spending a lot of money servicing the mowers, and so we need 2 new mowers. Any questions regarding the mowers?
Are the mowers still working?
It's hit or miss. They'll work for a couple weeks, and then we might have to do a small repair on the mower. So it would be out for anywhere, maybe a day, maybe a half a day. If it goes in the shop, it could be a few days up to a week.
So if you had 1 new mower and kept those 2 as spares, one going and the other one going, that would work?
I think ideally, if we had the 2 new mowers, we would be set. Yes, ma'am.
I know in a perfect world, but I'm just saying, you've got 2 that are working. They need some maintenance. How old are they?
So the newest mowers that we have were purchased in 2014.
They're 9 years old.
9 years old, yes, ma'am. That's old. And they've got close to about almost in between 5,000 and 6,000 hours on them.
Okay.
Mr. Lucas, the mowers that you have now, they're Skags, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
we've got some Skag, and we also have, they're not all Skag, but there is another model in there as well.
what size engines are on those?
They are, I believe they're 24s and 32s. 32, 25 and 32.
Okay, 29.
Sorry?
What, are they cats, twos? The reason I'm asking the question is, I see you got here that they, about like 100 hours on your, and I run Skag, and I got a lot more miles on mine than that, and I would just kind of get some kind of general idea as to you want to go to the bad boys instead of going to back to Skags.
Well, we did. Actually, there is in your folder as well. There is a quote on the Skag. The bad boys were about $1,000 cheaper, and they actually were. So, on that quote, the bad boy mower is a 35 horsepower mower, and its individual subtotal is $10,327.10. And then the Skags it's a 32 horsepower mower, and then its subtotal is $11,300.
That's about right.
I'm just asking probably a general question. Since we have a public works department, why can't we coordinate that so that the public works department also cuts the fields and all of those kinds of things?
Well, I mean, we have 21 parks and indoor facilities where the grounds have to be maintained. I mean, that's a lot of work, I think, to ask for Public Works to do. I think they have their own grounds that they maintain. It's not anything that we've done in the past. And there is some upkeep, especially when it comes to athletic fields, when it comes to dragging your fields. So there's certain maintenance that has to be done to the fields because they are athletic fields. Okay. Yes, we've got. Yeah, there is another capital request. Okay. So this is a work truck. And that estimate is in your folder as well. It is a two-door Chevy 1500 regular cab, work truck, and this price is $34,565. The current truck that we're looking to replace is a 2011 model. The mileage on that is 184,529. It just recently had we had to rebuild the transmission. That was in August of 2022. And so we're asking to replace that truck.
That truck that's a four-door truck. Is that necessary? I mean, what is it?
So the four-door was much more expensive. So the truck that we actually have dialed back to a two-door truck.
I'm sorry.
So the truck that's in your folder there, that's actually a two-door truck. So I'll move on. If there's any questions about that capital request, I'll take them. If not, I'll move on. We do have some personnel requests as well. Okay. So we do have a personnel request in for our athletic coordinator. The athletic coordinator would serve as the supervisor for the athletic department. That position was, I'm going to say frozen. I'm not exactly sure if it was frozen, but I know the position was taken away 2 years ago. And we do desperately need the athletic coordinator position back to keep our athletic programs running safely and running where everything is getting out. Communication is going really well. Communication with teams, parents, supervision at parks. So the absence of the athletic coordinator has made athletics not go as smoothly as I would like for them to go. So we're asking for for an athletic coordinator position, and then we're also asking for a recreational specialist position. But this is linked to the Ridgeway Recreation Center, which it's kind of a preemptive request for that building. That once that opens up, we'd like to have one full-time recreation specialist in that building.
Could you just explain that recreation specialist again for me, please? I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of that.
Yes, ma'am. So the recreation specialist position, that is a position that would be required to introduce new programs to the community for youth, adults, seniors. They would be housed in the Ridgeway Recreation Center once the building is complete. The position would be tasked with managing, coordinating programs to achieve a high success rate, generate revenue. The position would serve as a supervisor for 2 temp as needed employees that would be in the facility as well.
I'd just like to mention one other thing that I've heard so many of the council people talk about in the past, basically recognizing our coaches and others and a recognition event sometimes during the year. So I know that that's not in the budget, but it's one of the kinds of things that people have simply talked about in trying to continue to encourage our coaches and appreciate them for the work that they do. Thanks.
Yeah, there's no way that we could do the work that we do in youth athletics without volunteers. We've got hundreds of volunteers throughout the year, whether it's spring, whether it's summer, fall, winter. We've got a lot of volunteers that do double, triple, quadruple duty every season. So we're thankful for those volunteers. And I appreciate you recognizing them, Ms. Green.
Because I think that there might be a corporate opportunity for someone to sponsor that event, if we really take a look at making sure that, the community knows about it.
Okay, thank you, Council.
At this time, we will have Public Works, which is road maintenance. Their costs decreased by 1.81%, and also solid waste increased 2.33%.
I just got the different where it went, so, because we moved some out of one of the accounts to make up for it, that's why it went down. So, the biggest thing was the gas. Good evening, council. You should have both folders, or both presentations there, road maintenance and solid waste. I'm gonna try to get, I don't know if Carnell will come here or not, but I guess I'll do double duty tonight. We did have a road maintenance, slight decrease, 1%. We moved some money in some accounts to offset the fuel cost. So, and the decrease this time was a large part with priority book for roads is an every 3-year update that CTC does, and it was 15,000 this year was our portion. So that'll roll off next year. So that will be contributed to that decrease of roughly 1%. Any questions on the daily operations budget? Nope. All right, well, we'll jump right into the road maintenance capital then. We gave you the first one's just an overview of how many miles of roadway we maintain, what we offer as far as driveway installs, street signs, in the daily maintenance we do on dirt, gravel, and paved roads in the county. First capital request there is a flex wing or a bat wing mower that's pulled behind one of our tractors that cuts for the right of way. If you flip over to page 3 there, or slide 3, that's what a new one would look like that we're requesting, to where you may have seen them on the side of the roads where you can flex both sides to cut the shoulder and the ditch as well. And the next page actually shows the one that it's replacing with the holes in the deck, and it's about 15 years in use now, and it's just getting to be a safety hazard and needs to be replaced. This would also help us more efficiently cut the airport too, because that's part of what we do, is cut the airport on a bi-weekly basis. And that is a cost of $25,000 for that particular cutting more there. So it'll be a better setup, and it will be more efficient that we can pull that and have a side mower going at the same time on the same equipment. Any questions on that first item? All right, second item is It's a 3-point boom hitch cutter. This actually fits on the back of the tractor as well. PTO driven. There's a picture of it there on the next page. This could cut your limbs. And then as we tag team and go with 2 more, we're cutting limbs with that, and the next one's coming through and kind of mulching it up and cleaning it up. And again, this could be used as well at the airport to speed up that process as well. Any questions on item 2 for road maintenance? And the last one's going to be the bridge replacement. As you guys know, we have several bridges out, 5 now in the county. This one's kind of the high priority. Maggie Harris, it's delaying EMS by about 12 minutes. They actually have to go up into Chester to get around to the other side. So that's the number 1 on our list. And then if we can show any movement here, it's going to be beneficial.
When do you think you can start?
As soon as we get the money and get the bid out, we already have the design done. Design is done, it's shovel ready, we need the money.
Yeah, because you got, like you say, you got to go from Fairfield County all the way up and get down Roberts Road and come back down and go.
It's about 12 minutes delay.
It's crazy. Thank you. Thank you.
All but 1 were closed before I came in 2020, August. The one that closed since I've been here was Bull Run. Everyone else was closed prior to me coming in August 2020. And we may have a couple of options on these bridges. I did find a company, and I called the guy tonight again, but they take old rail cars and we would move the structure, and they would put 2 rail cars together, and they hold up to 140,000 pounds. So it's not your traditional bridge, but we can back the span up, and it would be sufficient. I'm waiting on that. So as of right now, this one's designed. These other ones could be something in the future if I can ever get a proposal from them, and then we work on the details from there.
Would that same thing work on the one on Fort Wagner Road?
Absolutely. They work on every one we have.
Wow. Okay, great.
We ran across this guy out of Mississippi. I called him on a Friday, and he was actually in Nashville. He came Sunday night. I met him Monday morning. That was February. So I'm waiting on, we looked at all 5, and they're going to put a package together. This one will be here too in it, but if we can move on this one, we'll just subtract that one from that package.
Is it possible for maybe you to at least go to see that in action?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's not many, there's only 2 in the state. It's something more the Mississippi area. They just recently did one in Pumpkin Town, if you're familiar with that area. So this bridge was constructed in 1994. So a lot of these bridges the weight capacity is diminishing, and DOT is shutting us down. They're not meeting the weight capacity, and or this one actually here is structural failure on the abutment underneath. Questions on those 3 items? All right, I'll jump over. Cornell, you sure? Okay. I'll get into this one too. All right, the next one, Solid Waste Division of the Public Works. First page again kind of gives you a rundown of everything, and along with fire, EMS, Sheriff's Department, these guys that pull these roll-off cans nobody knows what they do every day. That trash comes and it goes and it disappears, and that's all anybody wants to know. And they work tirelessly. Carnell's in a truck every day now because we're short. We're still short a driver on that side. So appreciate all the work that they put in daily. It just right there just breaks down, how many customers we're serving, 11 convenience centers, gives you an idea of how many tons of limb debris we're hauling, how many tons of scrap metal we're hauling per month, mowing the grass at the county airport. That question was brought up. We do mow, but those are the same guys that run 2 routes and collect all of the appliances, the tires, the waste oil. So when they're not doing that on a Wednesday, then they're on the mowers cutting at the airport and cutting the sites. So that's what they're doing along with their other jobs there. All right, first item is going to be a new roll-off truck. And these have, just like everything else, have increased tremendously. They're about probably 30% increase. If you look on the next page, there's a picture of the one that's replacing. It's a 2007 model, about 400,000 miles on it. And we've probably paid for it twice in repairs. So, and we're pulling anywhere, we're averaging 8 to 10 cans a day per driver is what we're pulling at various sites. And capital request 2 is for 2 roll-off cans, the actual cans at the sites. They're 40-yard cans. Could be recyclables in there, could be plastic, glass, could be yard waste, furniture, and or household trash could go in those as well. The next page, next couple of slides there, those are the bottoms of them where they're rusted out. And we do have some that if they don't get too far, we can get repaired, but these are some of the original ones that were here, and I guess it's 18, 20 years ago now. So they just need to be cycled out. And that's all I have. No personnel requests.
I just hate it when I forget it's Wednesday and I roll up down at the thing with my load of trash and I take it right on back home.
Thank you for not throwing it on the side of the road.
No. And I wish everybody else would throw it on the side of the road either.
Yeah,
just saying.
You'd be surprised how many times we get those calls. But yeah, 6 days a week we're open. That's most than anybody else around in the state, actually. Yes, sir.
How much recycling metal that you guys do? You say you do about 35 tons?
Yeah, when we started doing that in-house 2 years ago, about 6 months after I was here, we started hauling it all in-house, and we went from about 24, 25 grand a year to almost 70 we were bringing back because we were hauling in-house, but we're getting to the point now that we can't keep up because we're short drivers, so we can't haul metal and not haul solid waste garbage. So we're looking to transition back to the way we were going, which we're going to lose some money, but we got to do that to keep up with so in 2 years, I think we probably 90,000, 100,000 to the good that we didn't have before. Okay. So, I mean, we're going to try to do it, but we just can't keep up right now. Sir, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, council, at this time, we're going to go ahead and do transit. And transit has a decrease of 18.33%, and they're mostly funded by the 5311 transportation grant, but expenditures are budgeted in the general fund, and then when the transit gets reimbursed, the expenditures are charged back to the grant.
Say no.
I can go. I got two. It's two vehicles. But that one vehicle is two vehicles. I do have a cap. Thought I could run over.
minute. Oh, she got it. Real quick.
Yes, I do have a capital request. As you see, we have 4 of our vehicles ranging at 2016, and the mileage I had there starting at 777, and also the other one is 224,977 miles. Now, the estimate cost of a Ford van is estimated around $90,000. Out of those 4 vehicles, 2 of those vehicles, I have it grant funded. So I'm only asking council for 2 more, okay? Right here, I do have the useful life chart, you see, and this is actually from the FTA Transportation Department, and this actually tell you the van up into the large buses. And if you can see, we way past our useful life. Okay? And then I'm requesting the unfreeze position, and that's that temp position for the office assistant. And that also, I plead last time that position is also funded through South Carolina DOT. And just like I give an example on the sheet, we're not asking for the full amount. We're just only asking for partial. Just for example, if that position is $30,000, we're only asking you for $10,500 because DOT will pay $19,500. So we really need that office position unfreeze. So could you please, you see I say desperately, put that in consideration. Any questions?
Is that temporary, like temporary, full-time, or is temporary, part-time, or it's just gonna last a little while? What does that mean?
Well, it's actually listed as temp, and we did have that position filled at one time. Yes, it's actually listed as this temp. It doesn't have it on my sheet, whether, I'll flip here now, make sure. It just says temp.
So I guess it's temporary, full-time.
Yes, temporary full-time.
Okay. Well, any of these vehicles you want replaced, are they giving you trouble, or just like they're supposed to be wore out?
Yes, ma'am. And actually, 9/11 actually had to tow in today. One of the vehicles, I did ask the maintenance department before leaving, he was having some trouble with the hoses on that vehicle.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Since we do a lot of transports through, I guess, Medicaid, Medicare, is there any kind of grant assistance that would help pay for some of these vehicles?
Yes, sir. I got 100% funding for 2
Okay.
of the 4 vehicles. I already have an IFB already on our website now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have missed that. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if I can just.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last one we have for tonight is the Sheriff's Department.
I got your glasses.
And their budget increased overall 11.70%.
Good evening. My name is Brad Douglas. I'm the Chief Deputy with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. I'm going to try to make this quick. I can't promise you I'll be as quick as the last young lady, but I'm going to do my best. And what she's passing out right now is a PowerPoint that we had presented, but in the interest of saving some time, I'm going to gloss over some of the background stuff and just hit the main points. By all means, if you see something in that PowerPoint that you want me to clarify that I gloss over, please let me know, and I'll be glad to touch on that. Again, a couple of the, the first pages of the slide just gives a little bit of background. And again, I'm just going to bypass that if y'all don't mind. Again, if you have some questions about it, please by all means let me know. Just a quick department overview, and I'm giving you this because it does go hand in hand with some personnel issues that we're having that are related to some requests that we're making. Of course, we have the sheriff, the chief deputy, myself, an administrator. We have 3 captains, and then we have a number of different divisions and branches that fall off from under those. We are short-staffed in every one of those divisions except our SRO division. And the reason we're not short-staffed in our SRO division is that we're under contract to keep those filled. And so, we were recently we were short in that, so we had to pull from other areas to fill that again because and the sheriff does believe that the safety in school is a priority, so we definitely want to make sure to get those things filled. So other than the SROs, we are short in everything. Up till about a week ago, we were 11 spots down, which I believe is about 17%. And it's back in the late fall, early January, I think we're maybe about 15 spots down at one point. So it was critical at one point. We made a lot of progress. We've implemented a number of strategies. And I'm pleased to say we hired 3 new officers this past Monday who just started Monday. So that brings us back to 8 openings that we have. But unfortunately, we've been notified that we're going to lose at least 3 by June. We got folks who are going to be leaving, going other places. So we're going to be back. If we don't get any more qualified applicants, we're going to be back to 11 shortages. So I tell you that to just give you a little bit of background on where we are. But right now, with those 3 we just hired, we're at about 11% deficit of manpower. We are requesting a 6% increase in our salaries, and the reason we're doing that is for everybody else around us is asking for increases. And I know money doesn't fix everything, and really and truly, more than 6% is what we need to stay more competitive, but we're just trying to stay in the ballpark with these other agencies. Something that's really hurt us recently, and I just was at a dinner Monday night, and one of the state legislators was telling us that, he was bragging about the state increases in law enforcement pay for state law enforcement. I think the average starting pay for state law enforcement the increase was 17%. And then he was bragging that they got another one for this upcoming year, 15% more. And I know that's not us, but it does affect us. And the reason it affects us is that right now there's a shortage in law enforcement officers. Just it's everywhere. Everybody's short. So everybody's competing for a limited number of folks who are either certified or who want to get into this profession. So we have to be very competitive, and that's one of the things that we're working on. We think that this 6% will keep us in the ballpark with surrounding agencies. We're doing other things that aren't monetary, that aren't necessarily involve money, but that improve our culture and to try to stimulate people to stay with us. We're implementing those types of measures too to go hand in hand with this. We've got some great deputies who work with us. I think we're, their heart's really into it, and we're just trying to do what we can to keep them. Because what happens is, I think maybe EMS was talking about this earlier. When they raise pay, you got folks, and you really can't blame them if they go somewhere and they can get a $5,000 or $10,000 pay increase. It's hard to argue that for them. So it's hard to argue with somebody when they're making those decisions for their families. So that's the reason for the request for a 6% increase, and we think that that will help us recruit more. And just to give you an idea about recruiting, it used to be years ago you always had a stack of applications. We don't have those anymore. We are moving, anytime we get an application, we move very quickly. We do a background, and we are contacting them within a day or so because other agencies are doing the same thing, and we have to snag them up quick. So it's very competitive now. On to the next slide that you have in front of you. We're just talking about, we're requesting going from, I think the terminology is Chinese overtime and how it's calculated, to going to a true overtime that pays 1.5 pay rate. That's what every agency I've talked to, gosh, throughout the state, they compute their overtime that way now. So that is something that we are also asking, and I think Ms. Terry Smith has gotten with Laura on that as far as figures go. Lastly, I'm going to talk about our vehicle situation. We're getting pretty critical as far as our vehicles go. They're just, we got 44 vehicles with over 100,000 miles and some of those with over 200,000 miles. If you go to that next slide where it says vehicles we need to replace, the top half from the 1999 model down to the 2011s, those are basically utility type vehicles and spares and ones that we can make good with those. The ones below that are ones that we are still daily use vehicles, and so it's critical that we look at trying to get some of these vehicles replaced. State contract price average, because you don't know exactly what type of vehicle you're going to be able to get on state contract, but the average price is about $45,000 for a law enforcement vehicle, and it costs approximately $16,000 to outfit and equip that vehicle for service. For a total of approximately $61,000. And we're asking for 8 replacement vehicles right now for a total of $488,000. I know I zipped through that, y'all. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because that would be, for the $45,000 for the vehicle, and again, these are estimates. $16,000 for equipping it, so that's a total of $61,000 per vehicle times 8 would be $488,000. Yes, sir. And I'll be glad to go line by line on this stuff, but that may take a while. If anything else that y'all have any questions on that I can answer?
Isn't there and I might be wrong, but isn't there a standard when it comes to law enforcement vehicles and those vehicles being involved in pursuits and other things? Isn't there a standard maybe that when a police vehicle should come off the road, or do you know?
I don't think there's one, written. We have, and we work very closely with our with the maintenance department here, and and hats off to those guys and ladies there. They're very short-handed. They do a great job of keeping our vehicles on the road. They've even come to us, and we look at them, and some of them, we've actually had to say, we can drive from point A to point B, but no emergency response in these vehicles. It's just not safe. So it's more of a determination that we make ourselves. But you could be right. I don't know of a written, type of standard or anything.
Right, I think. I thought, okay.
And that's those that I think Lucas was talking about earlier, that end up surplus that you can get for low mileage, because they do have a standard of getting rid of those. And a lot of those are law enforcement vehicles.
Ms. Douglas, just curious, where did y'all implement that 100,000 we voted for a few months ago?
Yes, sir. What the sheriff did is, because that was in conjunction with a 246, I believe, increase. Is that correct? And the sheriff, what he did is he sat down and worked with Ms. Smith, and they just basically spread that out to give everybody kind of a fair and equal type increase. And we appreciate what y'all did with that too. That certainly puts us in a lot better position than we were before that.
Only other question I got is, when I'm looking at his salaries, do we still do anything for certified officers based on years of service? Do we give them like $100 per years of service, or do? Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
I knew there was some increase, that's why I looked at her.
Up to 10 years? Okay. Mr. Roseborough?
I asked a question a while ago about the sheriff deputies helping at the detention center. Is that possible? Like for some overtime to help boost their salaries?
Well, I know other counties, first of all, there's certain things that they could do. First of all, most of where they do this is where the jail actually falls under the sheriff. So I'm not sure about how the overlapping departments go.
Cannot do that because this is separate certification, the jail certification and the law enforcement certification are separate. So it would not be covered to go inside the jail and help them out. Now, if there's an emergency situation, you have to go in there and law enforcement kind of that. But as far as going in and working the jail, we cannot do it without the certification.
Yeah. It's for liability because you're not trained. We're not specifically trained as a correctional officers, and that's a different training that they go through. And really and truly, we're getting back to the shortage of manpower right now, and that's one of the reasons we asked for the time and a half overtime. We're requiring our guys, because we're so short-staffed, we're requiring our guys to come in and work extra shifts, and there's a rotation basis, so it's fair. But they're having to come in, and then of course so we're stretching our ranks thin anyway, even if we could go to the jail. And so that leads to the overtime thing, because we're making them come work overtime when a lot of those guys have other jobs they do in their off days, but we're making them come spend their time with us. And then the way that Chinese overtime is set up, the more hours you work, the less your hourly rate goes down. So it's supposed to be, I think, preventive of overtime. But right now we're depending on overtime. We're well over our budget on overtime because we're just that short-staffed, and there's services we have to provide to our citizens to keep this county safe.
Thank you.
Ms. Green?
I'm just thinking about some options here. One of the things that maybe I know that we have some female officers, but it may be really a recruitment strategy to kind of increase your attention on recruiting female officers as well.
Yes, we've had that discussion because we are very short on officers, and specifically female officers. And we've implemented some recruiting strategies where we've got online on these Indeed. We posted jobs there. We go to job fairs. We go to our local colleges, specifically our two-year tech colleges. We've reached out to those, and they don't really do career fairs anymore. They do everything online. You post positions online. So we've done that. We've got a little bit of feedback from that. Our career fairs, we had one the other day. I don't know if anybody went to the one. We had a great turnout, but had 0 people come to our desk. 0 to inquire. And, and that's just, in a nutshell, the issue we're dealing with right now. But we have, there's things that this is probably a little embarrassing. We actually had an officer in a very serious wreck the other night. Very serious. We're so lucky that he's just banged up a little bit. It was it's a DUI-related thing. He's headed home, and a car comes flying across the center median of the interstate and hits him. So the sheriff sends the command staff down to check on him at the hospital. And we're with him, and we see some security guards at one of the hospitals. I'm not naming the hospital in Columbia. And we start talking to some of those guys. And they're like, hey, y'all got the support. We want to be part of that. So we got a couple of guys interested in work. We're recruiting however we can. Yeah. One of the folks who just started with us this past Monday, Matter of fact, the fellow who was in the wreck, he recruited that guy from another agency. It's like a diamond when we can actually get a certified officer here, because they usually go to bigger agencies for certified. But we did get him to come here, and that's directly due to that officer. We've had several, we've had meetings with our lieutenants, and that's something we're pushing, is we've got to start recruiting, heavily recruiting, and they're doing that. And that's why our numbers are up significantly from where they were back in, October, November, when they were down so far. So yes, ma'am, I agree with it. And we're open to any ideas, especially to get females, in law enforcement. So that's something we're working on. And, that's certainly at the forefront of every meeting we have with the sheriff, is what can we do to entice more people to come here, specifically females.
Any other questions for the sheriff's office? Thank y'all for being here. I hate y'all had to be the last ones, but
I appreciate y'all's patience and attendance. I know I'm hungry. I know y'all are. So anyway, I appreciate y'all's time to listen to us.
thank you for being here. Miss Johnson, anything else to address?
Council, no other issues to address.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that came tonight. Thank you for staff for being here late. I would entertain a motion.
Can I say one more thing?
Mr. Roof.
It won't last long. But I still say, Ms. Johnson, I don't know who needs to do it, but we need to work on this acoustics. It is hard to understand, and I know it's probably hard for them to understand, but we have to ask them over, we miss things. But anyway, I don't know what the answer is, but we need to work on it. Anyway.
We're getting some quotes, and we found out that there's something that we can do, but it may be close to maybe an 80-85% improvement, but we're going to try it to see if it works.
That'll be a lot better than what it is.
And just to let council know, we probably have about 20 more departments to go. So you want to do them all in one night?
No, ma'am.
I knew that was going to be the answer, so we'll split them out.
Well, I'd rather do them, make some longer nights and have less times here. I don't know about the rest of you, but.
They should go a little bit faster because the ones that we have left, they don't have any capital requests, so it'll just be operating budget.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted. Thank you all. Have a good night.
I entertain a motion.
Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and probably seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 to adjourn. We are adjourned.